This time on the Q Division podcast, we open the case of 1983's Octopussy.
This episode, let's all find our inner clown.
An island full of women? Sign me up.
And who's paying for that Fabergé egg?
All that and more on this episode of the Q Division.
Hello, agents, and welcome to another episode of the Q Division. I'm Gavin, and I've seen all the James Bond movies.
I'm Chels, and I've seen 14 and a TV special.
Oh, yeah, it's so special.
It's so special. I remember everything that happened in that movie TV special. The Q Division's top secret mission is to take a deeper look at the history and impact of the James Bond films and other media through a queer lens. Speaking of, the Q Division is a proud member of the Glitterjaw Queer Podcast Collective. You can find out more about Glitterjaw and their roster of shows at glitterjaw.com.
This episode, we realized that this case has just too many arms. So we looked for an agent deep in our art history department, and we brought in film critic and podcaster Ben Miller to help us crack the case. Ben Miller, welcome to the show.
Hello. What a pleasure to be here. If you're, I like the opportunity. You look through the entire James Bond film collection and you're like, what's the one where we can get the straight guy on? Like, we can just make sure to really really put the straight guy right front. It's like, oh, this is the one. There's definitely no downside to having a straight guy talk about this at all.
Ben, you're allegedly straight in my book, which is high praise.
I believe my bio on, I think Twitter bio is a straight white guy in a good way. So.
Exactly. That's what that really means. It's
Yes,
like,
okay.
we can trust you. You can hold on to my drink and nothing bad will happen.
Yeah. I'm married to a woman and she trusts me and other women trust me, I guess. Small little steps for mankind, I say.
Sexually straight, culturally queer.
There you go.
Exactly.
Yes. There you go.
It's so funny because I also recently invited another straight man onto this podcast, and their response was, for the episode I invited them, like, did you give me this episode because I was straight? And I was like, no, but also yes. So yeah, like,
it's impossible to be in the film critic community and not run into every sort of queer person you possibly can. So I'm very happy for you to be aboard here.
And let me tell you, 15 years ago, that was not the case. So I'm happy that we are alive and living in this time for that reason. Other reasons we could work on. But Ben, what is your... Well, even before we get into your history of James Bond, first of all, just give us, what are you up to? What is the thing you love about film? How did you get into film criticism?
It's kind of a simple thing of like, well, what do you first remember going to movies and stuff like that? And I think I just had the right sweet spot of my age because I was 7 years old in 1993.
Oh, goodness.
And my dad comes over my shoulder and says, hey, we're going to go to a movie. And it's like dinosaurs are over your shoulder. And I'm 7 years old. And I'm like, yes, let's go to this. And I went to Jurassic Park and I was like, oh my God, this is the most incredible thing in the history of film. In the history of anything, not less film. And it was kind of one of those things where I just kind of dove in head first. My mom was always a big film buff. And so I just kind of gravitated to that and always liked watching movies growing up. And then as one does, my first job was at a movie theater, which gave me the opportunity to really dive into my psychosis of watching too much. I tried my absolute best in 2005 to watch every single movie that came out in the movie theater the entire year. I made it I went through some real stinkers, including...
I was going to say, just thinking of that Oscar year, that's a dud of a year minus Throwback.
And the funny thing is, before that, you're like, I'm sitting in the theater by myself at 19 watching a Cinderella Story with Hilary Duff. And
5-star masterpiece.
New York Minute. I watched in a theater. The Olsen twins masterpiece. Yes.
And I love the Olsen twins, but you can't get that time back.
Yeah.
That's allegedly a movie.
two things. Cinderella Story with Hilary Duff. Does that movie end with Jimmy Eat World? Am I making that up?
No.
Okay.
Who is it in New York Minute though?
Eugene Levy.
No, it's the
Easy
there's
to
a
confuse
band.
Jimmy Eat World with Eugene Levy. Correct. I think
I
about that
want
all
to
the
say
time.
it's like Simple Plan or something is in New York Minute, and Mary-Kate Olsen plays the drums for them or something. It's like
Oh,
one of those
man.
type bands, though.
I am actually right. Cinderella Story does, in fact, end with the song Hear You Me, which was the Jimmy Eat World's tribute to Michael and Carly, who were Weezer fans who died in a car crash. And Jimmy Eat World wrote a song about them. And yet for Cinderella Story, it plays over the like big kiss at the end of the movie. Why don't I
This
know
is how
math? Why do I know these things?
This is how I learned that Jimmy Eat World had more than one single.
Yes. Oh, I was a big
How
fan.
dare you? How dare
Yeah,
you?
exactly.
This is the queer coming out right now
Yeah.
because the straight guys know. Oh, how dare you?
Yeah, I was gonna
I
say
can name
This is queer culture.
multiple albums of Jimmy Eat World, much less a single song.
I was
Oh,
gonna say,
man.
if you want to see me go straight real quick, I will tell you about the history of Jimmy Eat World.
Y'all are gonna straighten this out.
Yeah, but I guess we're here to talk about a different Jimmy, by the way.
We are.
But one last thing I do want to say, I was really hoping you were going to say it was 1993. My dad was like, we're going to go see a movie with dinosaurs. And that's how you saw Carnosaur in the theater. But I guess that not all dreams can come true.
No, it
No,
was a
but I
double
mean-
feature. That was this next one.
Yeah, so I sat through 2005 and I was just kind of obsessed with it, and it never really went away. And I remember I watched Voltaire in the theater.
Oh
It
my
was
God.
first Almodovar I've ever saw. I watched Voltaire and I was like, "What the hell is this?" And I was just like transfixed, and I was like, "Oh, I'm missing a part of the world that I'm not understanding."
This is the queer
And-
experience.
This is I got to shout out my buddy Manish with one of my favorite letterbox reviews of that movie, and he said that Penelope Cruz's cleavage is for the F word and F words only. So,
Yes.
and it's truly the type of film I was like, okay, I would say that's the catalyst to send me off into the world of international cinema, and now I'm like neck deep in completism, where I'm like, I have to watch everything I possibly can. And if you go on Letterboxd and find a movie, chances are I probably saw it already, no matter what it is. So and I've been writing for the last decade full time. I say full time, all the time for the last 5 years. So, and then my big thing is just, you have to befriend insane humans like Chels and be able to,
Yes.
like if you give somebody like Chelsea the opportunity to do a podcast on the Parent Trap, and
That's why I'm
ever s-
here.
ever since we had that, the Parent Trap it re-entered the national conversation because of our podcast. It was the catalyst that set it off. In the
It
right
really
direction.
was. Me and
really
my
was.
mental illness.
Yes.
I would say Ginger Twinsies would not exist without it. And Chels and I saw Ginger Twinsies together.
We saw
so-
Ginger Twinsies together. I found literally the best merch in the world for one of my friends there. It was the greatest night of my life.
Yeah.
Best thing I've ever seen.
I would encourage anybody to go back and listen to that episode, because Chelsea really went off the deep end about how one
Yep.
of them is a lesbian who is
Yep.
driving a Subaru with the her
Tie-dye
friend-
girl.
the tie-dye girl. That's right. Yes.
Real quick, what is the name of that podcast?
I guess it's still technically around its target audience. It was essentially I bring on a guest to talk about a film they are targeted by, and it's a podcast about empathy. So they go on and talk about how much they love it, and I empathize with their passion. And so many people listen to it. This is why I keep going. This is why I kept doing it. But all the episodes are still out there somewhere.
I love that. And I of course want you to be able to advertise yourself. That's why we have each other on our podcasts, is so we can talk about our own work as well. I do have to ask, before I ask Chels how she's doing, because I like to check in with her every episode, what is your history with James Bond? What is your history with Octopussy?
So my, being like I said, a straight white guy, it's kind of
Mhm.
hard to not be around Bond
Yeah.
whenever you're around things. And-
You're kind of the target audience.
Ho hi synergy. But growing up, they were always on kind of TV, especially like whenever I think of Bond, I always think of Brosnan, just because that's who was around when I was a kid. And I went and watched this is whenever kind of I also knew that my film watching was different. Me and my friends a bunch of my friends went and watched The World Is Not Enough. And they're teenagers and they're dicking around in the theater. I'm trying to watch the movie. And
I
I
understand that
was
deeply.
like, so I'm in there watching that. And a couple years ago, me and my wife found it was Black Friday, the last minutes of Black Friday. We found a Blu-ray collection of every single Bond movie, and it was like $45.
Oh,
And
amazing.
It's
and
probably
so
the collection I have.
I was
out
gonna say, I think it's
there.
also the collection I have, which is just
the Bond 50.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
So
off camera, and it certainly
yeah,
did not cost me $45 when it came out. So
yeah. So we got that, and we're like, hey, we haven't seen all these Bond movies, and so me and my wife spent like the next 3 years chipping away at every single Bond movie, and so we knocked them all out, and then.
God bless her, because this was the one that broke my husband, and he still continued after this, but he begged me not to make him rewatch Skyfall, so that was where we stopped.
See,
That's the one with a good song, right?
Yes, correct.
See, I know things.
And this movie being a good example, I remember thinking this is a piece of crap, and then I rewatched it, and I'm like, why is this? I'm having a lot of fun. Like it's silly, like all Roger Moore Bond movies, but I mean, still.
I actually want to agree. I have said for a very long time, Octopussy is my least favorite. Just to give a spoiler alert to everybody, I did have more fun this time watching it than I've ever had watching it for this show. And so I cannot come here to just smear it across the pavement. But I will say it is certainly my least favorite, even compared to Live and Let Die and The Man with the Golden Gun, which have some very choice moments. Like, this one to me is the least fun adventure for me, in my opinion.
I'm very excited for Chelsea to get to like die another day, because
Yes,
that's the one that I always say that's like there's the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah,
Doesn't get
that's my second least favorite. So yeah. But
I feel like so far the Godzilla James Bond movie is my least favorite. I will not remember its name. Just
You Only Live Twice. You Only Live Twice.
That one right there. And yet, this movie, y'all. Let's just say, shortly after I watched this movie, former guest Sophia, I looked at her Letterboxd review before writing mine. Let me read hers though.
Oh, please.
The star system on this app doesn't apply for how wild this movie is. I did see it with a fun crowd at the PCC though, so it'll always be a special Bond viewing experience. I feel like that's true because this film, it transcends space, time, reality, and reason. That was my Letterboxd review. Y'all, this movie, if you can call it a movie, is it good by like sensible standards? Goodness no. Did I have the time of my life in the last 25 minutes? Absolutely. Does it make any sense, and do I remember anything before that 25 minutes? Not really. I know there's an egg and Maud Adams is there and she looks beautiful, and there's another beautiful woman that kind of looks like her. But y'all,
who's also Swedish, so
that's true. I do love a beautiful, scary Swedish woman. But this movie, what the hell was this movie?
I will say,
how much cocaine were they on when they wrote this? Michael G. Wilson, I saw your credits. You're all over this movie. What is going on here, sir?
I will say that for a series in which during the Roger Moore era they go to space, this one feels the most ridiculous.
He tells a tiger to sit.
Yes.
There are elephants that are very important to the actual climax of this movie. And I'm not talking about the circus bomb. I am talking about what happens after that.
I did stop the movie at one point and say, does James Bond talk to animals? Like,
yes.
It's like, it's very, like,
there's a Tarzan moment. How could I forget the Tarzan moment?
And whenever they do it, I'm like, they didn't need to put the Tarzan yell in there. Like, they could have just had him swinging Shia LaBeouf style, like, but instead,
and
like,
yet they did, because they knew I would be watching this and needed a reason to clock back in.
For all of the like talk of the slide whistle in The Man with the Golden Gun during the stunt, and like how much they regret it, no one seems to talk about the Tarzan yell, and no one takes responsibility.
Well, I know we're gonna get into it, but it's so it's really hard to grasp how this movie saved the studio from financial ruin.
Yes. Yes.
It doesn't make any sort of sense. You're
No.
like,
No.
this is the Top Gun Maverick of 1982 or whatever it is. Like,
Speaking of, did Top Gun get ideas from this? I'm convinced Tom Cruise loves James Bond and is just doing James Bond his entire career, but like
I don't think you're
that's just
wrong.
stunts.
oh man, like the thing on the plane, I
Yeah.
showed my wife and I'm like, do you know what they didn't do? Fake this. Like
Yeah.
there was a guy on a plane.
Yeah, I was like, this is the finale of the latest Mission Impossible movie. Like,
Yes.
this is just the
Literally
like,
that.
it's just wild thing after wild thing in this film, and yet somehow for me, and maybe I'm just like expecting too much from the narrative structure, and maybe it's because they didn't really have anything to base it on, but that's not really an excuse because they created original scripts without it. Just doesn't flow like a film at all.
No.
It is deeply boring until you get to the chaos of the circus and that fever dream, but also it still does not make any sense. Like
Yeah.
when I say I did not know what was happening, I really did not know what was happening. And I watched this twice.
Multiple fortified island fortresses. Like
Yes.
it's like couldn't keep them all straight, and like the main Bond girl and the secondary Bond girl kind of being the same person.
Yeah.
And like it's funny whenever I first watched it, and the side Bond girl shows up, and I'm like, I don't remember Maud Adams looking like that. And then and I was like, oh wait, that's not Maud Adams.
Right. Well, I'm all for giving women more roles, and
Totally.
and the fact that both of them make it out of this James Bond movie.
A
But
miracle.
it's truly a miracle. It's a Q division miracle. But why does Magda exist? Like, Magda could 100% be, because every time I watch this, I keep waiting for there to be a reveal that she knows there's more going on, that her and Kamal Khan are more in cahoots. But no, she knows exactly the same amount of stuff that Octopussy knows. So why do we need her?
Well, because you need somebody to ribbon fall down a
Yes.
balcony, okay?
Which
like
she did
That
do
was
herself.
really fucking cool.
Yeah.
it
So
was-
cool.
Moonraker is a 5-star masterpiece.
It is. It is.
In my book, I had the best time of my life. This needed to be a little bit more Moonraker.
Yeah.
Keep me interested.
But just a reminder to all three of us, by the way, it is January, so Happy New Year.
Happy
of
New
course.
Year. This is why I have my Sprite Chill cocktail.
Yes, exactly. All right. Why don't we try and figure out what the fuck is going on and talk a little bit about the history. I'm going to start with the book. There's not a ton to talk about for the book because we've now exhausted all of Ian Fleming's actual novels. So the short story collection for that this was based on was called Octopussy and the Living Daylights, and it was published on June 23rd, 1966, almost 2 years after Ian Fleming's death. Originally, it just contained those two stories, but it was eventually expanded to include The Property of a Lady and 007 in New York. The short story Octopussy itself was written in 1962 during a period of marital strife for Ian Fleming, shock, in which he retreated to his GoldenEye estate in Jamaica alone to write. Many of the story elements come from Fleming's own interests, including octopi, one of which he had encountered while on a dive and had named Pussy.
Naturally.
Of course, very Fleming. It even inspired an article he wrote about the animal for the Sunday Times in 1957, My Friend, the Octopus.
Later adapted for an Oscar-winning documentary.
Yes, absolutely. He also christened a boat of his Octopussy, as it was a gift from his neighbor and longtime mistress, Blanche Blackwell.
What a sentence.
Yep.
What a
and,
time!
and if we are to infer anything, Blanche was not his only mistress. Thank you, Noel Coward. And as for the story itself, Bond only appears briefly, interviewing a Major Dexter Smythe, a former Royal Marine officer, about his connection to the murder of Hans Oberhauser and a set of missing Nazi gold. Hans Oberhauser was an Austrian mountain guide whose body had just recently been discovered after it thawed from a glacier. Smythe had discovered the gold with Oberhauser and killed him for it over 20 years ago. However, Bond had a connection to Oberhauser, as he thought of that man as a surrogate father after his parents' death. Oberhauser was apparently a ski instructor. This character will come up again in the films, oddly enough, but I'm going to put a pin in that for Chels. Bond leaves Smythe to consider suicide or disgrace, and when Smythe is stung by a scorpion fish that he intends to feed his pet octopus, Octopussy, he is dragged underwater as the poison sets in. Bond believes it was a suicide, but decides to deem the death an accident as to not ruin Smythe's reputation. The film obviously jettisons most of this plot, but does scrape some of the auction and Fabergé egg intrigue from the James Bond short story The Property of a Lady as well, to add to this film.
Wow, I was gonna say, none of this happened, I don't think.
There's
I know I forgot a lot of it after watching it twice, but wow.
There's the scene later in it where Octopussy explains why she doesn't hate James Bond on sight, and it's because basically they take that story and make it about her dad. And not about Nazi gold, if I remember correctly, about something else. But
I specifically remember that spot, and I remember like having to rewind it 3 times because I'm like, why am I zoning out every time they talk about this? Like,
yeah, because
it's just kind of, yeah.
It kind of feels a little like, admittedly, though, the scene is done much better in Down with Love. It kind of feels like Renee Zellweger's monologue in Down with Love. That's just like a 10-minute shot of her standing there delivering a monologue. And you're just like, wait, what? What is happening?
What a strange but watchable film.
Oh, I love that movie.
I love it, but it's strange.
Oh,
and I can
very
admit
much
it.
so. In terms of production, United Artists were still suffering the financial losses from Michael Cimino's Heaven's Gate, as mentioned in the last episode, but still had faith in the Bond series' ability to basically print money. So they moved ahead with Octopussy following For Your Eyes Only, a deal that was honored even though United Artists was bought and merged with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, also known as MGM. I say that as though nobody knows what MGM is, but you know.
They might not know. I
Exactly.
mean, Tony Goldwyn is part of the MGM legacy.
That's true. I still think of every time I saw him, my friend Dan Mecca, former guest of the show, and I were walking through Times Square and we saw Tony Goldwyn, and without missing a beat, Dan just shouted, "That man killed Patrick Swayze." Anyways.
He'd be a great Bond villain, let's be real.
He truly would be. So that merger happened just 1 month after this film was announced between UA and Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. And by merger, I say like Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, MGM like took over United Artists. They still were a filmmaking unit inside MGM, but MGM was now their parent company. It was a pretty safe bet as the James Bond series had now become one of the highest grossing movie series of all time after the release of For Your Eyes Only. So they knew this was, going to only help their portfolio. Both Michael G. Wilson and Richard Maibaum returned to pen the script. This is Maibaum's 10th Bond script, and this time they brought along novelist and screenwriter George MacDonald Fraser to join them. Fraser is the one who suggested they move the plot from Japan to India, as he had done extensive research on the country for his Flashman novels. I don't know if either of you have ever seen the Flashman movie. It's insane.
Have not.
And also no Bond film had been set in India yet. He was also responsible for the sections in which Bond dresses as a gorilla and a clown. Sequences that Albert R. Broccoli heavily criticized, but Wilson and Maibaum kept in the script. The jewelry smuggling plotline was Law and Order style, ripped from the headlines, based on a real scandal involving the Soviet Union's General Secretary Leonid Brezhnev's son-in-law and the Moscow State Circus being used to smuggle jewelry. And then in terms of direction, John Glenn was also invited back to direct his second Bond film, and this will be his second of 5, I believe. So John Glenn is like strong directorial guy for them. Even though she had worked in the publicity department since The Spy Who Loved Me, Octopussy is the first Bond film that future Bond producer Barbara Broccoli is credited as an executive assistant, and she will only go up from there. Roger Moore had begun to discuss retiring from Bond again, and Eon decided they would do a much more public search for a replacement, including the likes of Timothy Dalton, again, Lewis Collins, Oliver Tobias, and even future Mr. Barbra Streisand and notable American James Brolin.
Some of these stories are really like this. This is a fascinating aspect of this. Like, this was not like let's put some feelers out. This is like a media circus in the middle of all this.
And it's funny because the last time they did this, which was during For Your Eyes Only, Roger Moore kind of used it as a bargaining tool to like be like, oh, well, then I'm not coming back. And then like 2 weeks later it was announced he was coming back, which means he probably got a sweet paycheck. But this genuinely is Roger Moore considering retirement. This is Roger Moore being like, I am Danny Glover too old for this shit. And United Artists being like, okay, we got to find a new guy.
It really is dedication about like, Daniel Craig and Roger Moore are the two of like, I really don't want to do these anymore.
Yes.
And then I'm just tossing cash
Yeah.
to make them. Please come back. It doesn't matter how crappy these movies are. They make money. Please come back.
Well, that is a perfect segue because there is very much a reason that Roger Moore comes back, which, by the way, just on the James Brolin front, some have actually said that he was hired for the role. There are audition tapes with him and Maud Adams, which is hilarious because she had not been given the role of Octopussy yet either, and it's them doing the For Martian with Love scene with the like, oh, some say your mouth is too big, that sort of Sean Connery-ness.
Look surprised to see me. I thought you were expecting me.
So you are Titania Romanova.
My friends call me Tanya,
Mine call me James Bond.
but I think my mouth is too big.
It's just the right size. For me, that is.
Brolin's actually very good, even though very clearly American.
He apparently was going to move. He was ready to move to England.
Yeah. He was ready to up and move, and he had kids and everything. So like he was ready to go for it. However, the moment that the Broccoli estate had feared was coming to pass, as Kevin McClory, everybody's favorite Bond boogeyman, was moving ahead with his Thunderball remake at Warner Brothers, featuring the return of the original Bond actor, Sean Connery. A move that scared Broccoli so much that Eon pushed to keep more, as they thought that only an established Bond could fend off Connery. And for the rest of that story, well, you'll just have to listen to the next episode.
Oh boy.
That is called good podcasting.
So I have seen that. Never Say Never Again.
Yes.
It does feature some of my favorite shots, and by shots I mean Sean Connery from the waist up, because he is very much not in shape but still has to be shirtless.
Yes.
And so
I was
they
gonna
go
say
out of
body
their,
shots.
oh yeah, they like, you can tell it's like, hey, you're gonna be in here with like, I don't know, 22-year-old Kim Basinger. You can't have a shirt on. So he's like by a pool, and it's like Kim Basinger, who's, I don't think a very tall lady. So it's like her head and his chest. And it's like they have to shoot like, and then all of a sudden you see Bond, but all of a sudden for some reason the camera's across the street. Like it's just, it never doesn't make me laugh.
Oh,
Chels, I
boy.
cannot wait for you to see it. And that episode's going to be a very, there's a lot of gossip for that episode, let's just say.
Oh,
Me
my
too,
favorite
say.
thing.
For Octopussy herself, Maud Adams was not actually the first choice. Eon balked at Faye Dunaway's price tag. Sorry, Sophia. And
She
when-
would have been excellent. Faye
She would have been
Dunaway.
amazing. Yeah.
Oh,
And when the character of Octopussy was briefly thought to be played by an Indian actress, Persis Kambata auditioned for the role. I put that in there because I love Persis Kambata and think she actually would have been really amazing.
ooh.
Kathleen Turner was also considered, as it was thought that she could, quote, pass as Indian.
What?
Boo.
Oh my Lord.
I mean, I would love her in a Bond movie even now, but also that's fucking wild. It's the 80s.
I know.
See, this is the thing, like every time, especially like I said, I was going through my completism and I'm going through stuff in the 40s and 50s and 60s, and the amount of color face that they do across these films.
I
You're like, well, you shouldn't have done this in 1946, but they still did it. And then like in the 80s, they're like, you know what, maybe we can still get away with this. And everybody, no, this is 40 years later. We didn't
Right.
like it 40 years ago.
It's one of those things where like everybody wants to play devil's advocate. Everybody wants to be like, they didn't know any better. They did know it better. It's just that they knew they could get away with it. And
Also, the devil doesn't need an advocate. He's the devil.
eventually, Broccoli announced that Adams would return to the series as this new character, Octopussy. And even though they darkened her hair, they did add a line in the script to explain that she'd just been raised by Indian parents. And that even gets taken out of the script. And then they would just replace it with the story from the book Octopussy about her father being a British person. So
Yeah, colonizer.
exactly. At least they didn't paint her brown.
Thank God.
Though I do think it's funny that they were like, "Well, darken your hair just to hint at it." Like, what world or what's going on?
It's like
here?
dishwater blonde still.
Yeah. Pam Grier also says she turned down a role in this film to pursue theater and hone her craft, which Love that for her. She was quoted in Entertainment Weekly in 2023 stating, "What am I going to do?" She explains. "Am I going to help rescue him? Is he rescuing me? A Bond girl is an afterthought. A Cliff Notes, perhaps."
I love her. This
too.
era, Pam is also so hot. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh,
Pam
man.
Grier, you're wonderful. She would have been so cool, but she's way too cool for these movies. Let's be real.
Yeah.
She's way too
And
cool.
you can tell that whatever the morsel of that was hung over for A View to a Kill.
Yes. Yeah,
it's-
100%.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. She's right. Like, she's basically played James Bond 5 times over at this point, too. She did it all throughout the 70s. So, like, what is she going to do? Rescue him? Like, she doesn't need the help.
Gavin, you're saying that Pam Grier movies are James Bond movies?
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Pandora's box.
new episodes.
Oh, excursions, here we come.
This is also the first film in which Robert Brown plays M after the death of previous M actor Bernard Lee. Brown had previously played Admiral Hargreaves in The Spy Who Loved Me 6 years earlier. For some, it is headcanon that this was a promotion for Hargreaves. That's fine if you want that to be your headcanon. I think trying to apply continuity to James Bond movies is a silly thing, but we'll play your game, headcanon
Wait,
people
it's a
out there.
silly thing to expect continuity from movies that have been around for like 60 some odd years.
I
And
know.
even if you kill off a James Bond, like
I
it does
know.
not write you into a corner. What?
Sorry, Anthony Horowitz. Which I liked Anthony Horowitz's novels, so I was really disappointed to read that. That just came out this week, or as it's January, 2
Couple months ago.
Yeah. Broccoli hired his friend Louis Jordan to play villainous Kamal Khan, while his daughter Barbara suggested Stephen Burkoff for General Orloff after having seen him perform in his own play Greek in Los Angeles. Broccoli also brought in popular Indian professional tennis player Vijay Amritraj to play Bond's Indian ally Vijay. Notice he even uses a racket in the film. Kabir Bedi was cast as Gobinda, Kamal Khan's main henchman, and Swedish actress Christina Wayborn was cast as Magda in the film after she was seen playing Greta Garbo in a TV movie.
Wait, is that where I've seen her before?
You might have.
You have seen the Greta Garbo TV movie?
Have you met me?
What a good response. I love that Maud Adams was like, every time I'm in a James Bond movie, they just seem to cast me with another Swedish actress. Like,
I will say every single name that you read there are some of the most beautiful people I've ever seen in my life.
yes. Yeah.
Like this cast is so hot
I
that even though I mixed up so many of them, mostly Maud Adams and Christina Wayborn, I was just like, damn, these people are so hot. I understand it. I would do crimes for them.
Louis Jordan just died a couple years ago, and I remember when I think it's probably more than a couple years ago at this point, probably like a decade ago actually, but I remember when he died, and like I guess I hadn't thought about it, but I was like, wow, he's like a really beautiful man.
Louis Jordan, what gentleman. Such elegance that he brought to the production.
He's a very suave man. Cubby always loved the way Louis would say, Octopussy.
Octopussy. Octopussy.
He's gorgeous.
Yeah, like in his autobiography, Cary Elwes said that before he was an actor, he worked as a production assistant on this film, and his job was to drive Roger Moore to work every morning. And he was like very visibly nervous the entire time. And he remembers Roger Moore was a gentleman the whole time, but like he basically had to be like, you can drive a little faster. Because Cary Elwes kept being like, what happens if I kill James Bond? Lois Maxwell, of course, returned as Moneypenny, but for the first time, she is seen with an assistant, Michaela Clavel, playing Penelope Smallbone. A move Maxwell feared was an attempt to transition her role to that of a younger performer.
They gave Miss Moneypenny a secretary for the first time. This is a very beautiful young girl, and obviously I'm going to be pushed out of the Bond films.
She is as attractive and as charming.
As I used to be? I was a little, sort of annoyed until I found that she was James Clavell's daughter, and her mother was April Stride, who had been a model with me when in London when we were about 18.
And Lois Maxwell is perhaps correct, but this is not Lois Maxwell's last film. So she does.
Because I love her.
I know. I was going to say you would be so sad if this is how they got rid of Lois Maxwell.
In the years of all the stupid Bond names, Penelope Smallbone is up there. As
Yeah.
in, like, even it doesn't even make any sense. And it's like, like they could have thrown something else in there, but
It's a real last name. It's the last name of I think it was like an extra on a previous film, or it was somebody that one of them knew, and they were like filing that away for future James Bond.
I'm sure there's a real person like Jonathan Humpalot, like and with so
He's actually the guest for the next 3 episodes. So
Ah,
you're right.
there you go.
Perfect.
Apparently during the filming of her first scene, Lois Maxwell was so flustered she like turned to him to Roger Moore and introduced Penelope Smallbone as Penelope Smallbush, and Roger Moore immediately shot back, Lois, we know where your mind is.
Honestly, they should have kept that name. That's
Yeah.
even better.
Smallbush is great. This movie's called Octopussy. You can't call it Smallbush. That's
I know.
That's so good.
Perfect. Locations for the film included Berlin, Germany, several locations in India and Utah, and of course Pinewood Studios, as well as the broader England at large. During one of the location scouting trips to India, production designer Peter Lamont's plane was actually hijacked. Luckily, the crew of the plane was able to subdue the hijackers, and the passengers were returned to safety. Chelsea talks about this in the book that you bought me, The Man with the Golden Eye, and it's funny enough, not even a huge part of the book, but he does say, like, when the crew was fighting off literally the captain took an axe from the cockpit and put it in one of the hijackers' heads. And so this is something that Peter
The
Lamont
death count
saw.
on these films, like directly or indirectly, is wild.
He also said while they were they let off some of the women and children because it was like very sweltering after they landed. Even though the hijackers were still on there, the hijackers let off some of the women and children, and another man sat down next to him, and just to make conversation to pass the time, the man was like, "What do you do?" And he was like, "I work on James Bond films." And the man was like, "You don't happen to have any of those gadgets with you?" And he was like, "I did not find it funny."
That's so funny.
Yeah, I know. Everybody else will. That's the thing. Hollywood stunt pilot and aerial coordinator J.W. Corky Fornoff was hired to pull off the pre-credit sequence where Bond pilots a home-built BD-5J aircraft, say that 5 times fast, through an open hangar. Fornoff would often fly the plane around 150 miles per hour, something he has been quoted as saying would be done by computers nowadays. A dummy aircraft was built that connected through a pole into a Jaguar below so it could be driven through the hangar and look like it was flying, allowing Roger Moore himself to fake the stunt. The rest of the flying was done cleverly with miniatures and models. Also, the car driving on the train tracks that happens later in the film is in fact a practical stunt. They were able to let Moore drive that car on the tracks himself.
This is what's missing from today's movies.
I agree.
It's just like I remember they talk about the amount of miniatures used in Independence Day, and it's a record that will never be broken because they just don't use miniatures anymore. But miniatures look so friggin' cool.
I'm not even the world's biggest Christopher Nolan fan. Christopher Nolan uses miniatures all the fucking time. That's why all of his Batman movies look so good. That's why Inception looks so good. That entire like James Bond sequence that happens in Inception in the snow with like the men skiing and stuff, a lot of that's miniatures, but it looks amazing.
All practical effects are better, are superior to almost all computer effects. Like I watched Escape from New York the other day.
Oh my God, I love Escape from New York.
The famous New York computer with the tape, and I was like, it looks like $1 million, and it's lit incredibly and stuff like that. And all you can say for this movie, and all its faults, and there are numerous ones, they are not skimping on stunts.
Exactly.
Man, they are not.
As a person rewatching all of Doctor Who for a podcast right now, I can say practical effects, practical costuming, practical stunts, everything. So much better than CGI garbage.
I will say, if you go frame by frame of the plane flying around the hangar, you can clearly see the pole. But they were also very clever about where they positioned people in front of the camera to try and hide it. And in motion, it looks great. It truly does. So movie making is magic. If people are
going frame by frame
right
to find these things, then you do not like movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Open your heart.
Solid. Stunt coordinator Martin Grace was actually injured during the filming. I always like to mention when somebody is injured during filming because, once again, art is not more important than people. And a lot of people do put their lives on the line to make these arts for our entertainment. So he was injured during the filming when doubling for more during the train stunt, fracturing his leg and shattering his hip on a concrete pole due to a miscommunication with the second unit director. Essentially, the train was supposed to stop at a certain point because they'd marked out a certain length of track that he could hang off the side of the train from. And the second unit director did not tell them to stop. And so the train moved on to a unplanned track, and he was immediately hit by a concrete pole, and it just shattered his hip. Yeah, that's pretty wild.
I mean, even on that stunt in general, like he's like hanging on the side, and it's interesting, and they're kicking feet, and then they scrape a tree.
Yeah,
and I was like, that looks so terrible.
And that was
painful.
And that was planned. Like,
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Nuts. That's nuts.
He showed up later. Like, they were not done filming before he got out of the hospital. So he showed up back on set to be like, hey, it's okay, I'm fine. But I mean, he was on crutches and everything. But that
Sir,
was
you are not okay. You are not fine.
right.
I hope
Exactly.
that second unit director was fired for
Former
that.
second unit director, I was about to say.
Right.
I do not
You
think
have
he
to be
was.
better.
There's
Probably
plenty of
not.
interviews with him. So
It upset me because I was there. I was looking at it through the camera, and I very nearly stopped shooting second unit after that.
I bet he's more careful after that.
yeah, absolutely. John Barry was able to return to score this Bond film, as we can only assume he got his tax issue sorted. We can now confirm it was in fact taxes that kept him away from For Your Eyes Only, much like it was The Spy Who Loved Me. Even though the film was largely set in India, Barry avoided traditional Indian music or instruments as he felt they wouldn't feel authentic. But please remember, this was also the man who couldn't find anything interesting in Turkish music back when they did From Russia With Love. So take that as you will.
John Barry thinks salt is spicy, I bet.
Yeah, I bet you. I bet you John Barry's like, ooh, too much pepper, like black pepper in my food. No.
He's the go-to of the internet meme of why did the British conquer all these places just for the spices and not use them? Like it's.
And I say this only out of love for John Barry, but I just think it's so funny to be like, yeah, I don't. But hey, actually, now I will play devil's advocate. Sorry for being an advocate for the devil. But maybe he was as a white man, which I doubt it, he was like, I shouldn't be trying to wade into Indian waters.
Guarantee he was not thinking about it.
Yeah, exactly. He also put in more than the average nods to the Monty Norman James Bond theme into this film, just so when the McClory Bond film came out, a movie that could not use the theme, people would recognize this as a, quote, official Bond film.
While it did make me laugh, catching all of that in the movie, I will say it's a level of petty that I deeply support.
Yes, me too, actually. Barry also co-wrote the opening theme, All Time High, with lyricist Tim Rice, a song that was sung by Rita Coolidge and would take the adult contemporary charts by storm. However, recording wasn't easy. The lyrics weren't even finished by the day that they were set to record, and it sounded like Coolidge was stuck in a hostile environment. She's still proud that she at least got to do a Bond theme. I watched an interview with her where she was basically they were screaming at each other while she was trying to record. And she's like, I'm a folk singer. This is not how recording studios go for me.
I think at one point Phil got mad at somebody and threw a roll of tape. It scared the P1 out of me. I was like, whoa, I don't do this is not the way I record at home, but okay.
It's also not a very good song.
There we go. You said it yourself.
It's pretty bad.
I said in the last episode, I associate For Your Eyes Only and All Time High with being in doctor's offices when I was a kid, because invariably they were on adult contemporary radio stations, and that's when I would hear them. And so I find especially All Time High very triggering, but it is such a sleepy, boring song and just doesn't feel like a James Bond song either.
It is a natural segue into elevator music. You can doom 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 doom.
Yeah.
Doom, it's got that, just like you said, sleepy tone.
Yeah.
You can tell that Elton John did most of the work on The Lion King from listening to this.
They did talk about trying to put the word Octopussy in the song and just finally scrapped it. There's some
Remember
rumors
when they had to have The Spy Who Loved Me in there? So they just
exactly.
threw it, throwaway line.
I just hoped that I wasn't going to be singing that word,
Octopussy was just No, as a title. You know, I mean, you try. How do you make that work? I tried Octopussy. You know, I don't know. I met with Tim, and Tim came up with this. He said, "I got this title, All Time High." I said, "I love that. You know, it's a great title."
Apparently, there's some rumors, and I didn't even put this in the show notes because I think it's too rumorific, that this was another film in which they were considering Frank Sinatra, and he'd written all these lyrics that were like very sexually forward. And then when they got in the recording studio, it wasn't actually Frank Sinatra, it was Frank Sinatra Jr. That all feels made up. That feels like fan fiction. But I'll say it in this episode just in case somebody comes back with like, well, actually, but I think that's pretty.
I think
proven
Frank
wrong.
Sinatra was too busy hanging out with Mia Farrow at the time and making
Yeah.
a questionable paternity story for her for that later.
What are you talking about? I just don't. What are you?
No Hollywood story involving Frank Sinatra is not immediately interesting to me. Just because every single woman's like, this guy is a monster. Every single guy is like, he's the best guy in the world.
Yeah.
So it's kind of read between the lines there. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Octopussy premiered in England on June 6th, 1983, with the Prince and Princess of Wales both in attendance. While it financially underperformed, but not by much, when you compare it to For Your Eyes Only, it still made $187.5 million on a budget of $27.5 million, with $67.8 million coming from the United States and Canada alone.
Which
It
is still like $1 billion today.
Yeah, exactly. But it did beat its rival, Never Say Never Again. Once again, that's for next episode. I'm so good at this podcasting thing, you guys. I'm
You're
so good.
amazing at this.
Why, thank you. That's all I want. Reviews were surprisingly strong. I love every time we get into one of the films that is considered bad nowadays, people are like, this is a great James Bond movie. Gene Siskel awarded the film 3 out of 4 stars, and noting that it was Moore's first non-smug Bond performance. Fuck you, Gene Siskel. However, Derek Malcolm of The Guardian felt the films had become a parody of a parody. More retrospective reviews have been less kind, feeling this is an old-fashioned step back for the Bond franchise.
I think we all just need to do a lot more drugs today to understand what people were thinking 40 some odd years ago.
I do agree with you, Chills. Like the same thing about like if you're in the 40s or the 50s and watching a movie from that time and you're like, wow, there's a lot of racism. And it's like, yeah, that was the 40s and 50s. There's a lot of racism. You have to take that same thing into account with the 80s. So much cocaine, just cocaine everywhere. Just assume around every corner somebody is doing a key bump at every possible opportunity. Like watch Terms of Endearment.
Yeah.
Knowing
solid.
that Deborah Winger and Jack Nicholson were in a movie together in 1983. Do you know how much cocaine was ingested? It was an insane amount of cocaine. And they somehow came out on the other side of it. And they actually delivered good performances, which it's a miracle.
Oscar winning
frankly.
for some.
Oscar winning for some, yes. And I would argue that she's better than McClane, but that's a different story. But anyway, like you have to view every movie from the 80s under the lens that everybody is gacked out of their faces.
Yeah.
And
I think
for
that's
the
correct.
40s, it's a lot of morphine.
Yeah. So much amphetamines.
I was gonna say some uppers too, like, but that's mostly saved for the children.
Yeah.
You gotta get those kids tap dancing. Sorry, been doing a lot of Judy Garland research of late. But yeah, I didn't put this in the notes either. I was thinking about this in the context, and when I was reading some of these reviews, I was thinking about like I think part of the problem is, and why parts of this are boring, are because they really are trying to capture that like pre Roger Moore era James Bond, and not so much in the like he's gonna break Maud Adams' arm to get information, but more. This I feel like I can see Connery in this James Bond, and I don't think it would make it any less boring and any more interesting. But this feels like the most Connery Bond we've had since Man with the Golden Gun.
I can see that.
And I feel like this is the one where maybe Moore is the most miscast, where he's too much of a gentleman.
Mhm.
Like he's. I heard I think it was Patton Oswalt. He said, if you want to make a good Bond, you have to have somebody who's equal parts charming and equal parts psychopathic.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what I don't really think they've ever truly nailed it, because you have actors like Moore or Brosnan who are overwhelmingly charming, but they don't ever touch the psychopathic. And then you have a guy like Dalton who's almost purely psychopathic, and it really like needs more charm. And then like Craig is like, he has the charm, but he's still like, he's way more interested in messing somebody up. And kind of same thing with Connery. And you also have the baggage of the 60s and all that kind of stuff. So, and with this one, you're so just like, man, I don't feel like he's gonna actually do anything bad. And then he turns and domes a Russian guy between the eyes. There's like, well, okay, I guess. I mean, maybe this is something that is going to happen. But the whole time, I'm just like, he's just like a suave old man. Like, and I don't feel like he's actually a secret agent. Like,
I would argue too, not with you, but I think Bond fans might feel some umbrage with this. But I still stick by it, especially after having reread the novels for this show, is that I don't think that the book Bond is that charming, and I think that's maybe where the mistake comes in, because people try and cast the book Bond, but the film Bond is another animal altogether, because he does straddle that world of having to be very likable but also doing horrible things. We brought it up a bunch of on this show a lot, that like the book Bond will not kill in cold blood, and he goes out of his way to make sure that like he will willingly put himself in danger rather than kill a bad guy, because it gives him a reason to kill. And the movie James Bond will kill in cold blood, so you actually do need, like you said, a combination of like incredibly charming but with psychopathic tendencies. I think I agree with you about Dalton, but I think a lot of that reputation comes from License to Kill, because License to Kill is insane. I think Dalton actually kind of nails it a little bit in The Living Daylights, but I mean, we'll get to that in a couple episodes. But
I'll be the judge of that.
Yeah, exactly. Especially after seeing your love, Roger Moore, go away. But yeah.
Ugh.
But yeah,
Man.
I think that's sort of where it's at for Octopussy. I think you're right. I think he does feel miscast, which is why I think it's so funny that Gene Siskel's like, oh, it's his first non-smug James Bond movie, because like Bond is fucking smug. That's a part of his whole deal.
He tells a snake to piss off.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I think that's enough about the production of this crazy movie. Why don't we open the case file on Octopussy and get into a little bit of the plot?
We start with the gun barrel in the classic Monty Norman theme, perhaps more trumpet forward than we've ever heard over the last couple films. Wonder why? Perhaps this is a signal we are going for nostalgia this time around. The barrel widens out to reveal army trucks, followed by Bond, clearly in disguise, driving a horse trailer onto a racetrack. Of course, as one does. He turns his outfit inside out after parking, and suddenly he's a colonel. A beautiful woman, his contact, gives him a new ID and plants a fake mustache on his face. I have to say mustache because what a mustache that was. That is not real at all.
As it's so funny, as soon as they put it on, I was like, wow. Like, it's like not even kind of close. But okay.
Put him on King of Drag.
Yeah, exactly. It was truly like, what, like, who is that fool? And it fools multiple people. But anyways, James makes his way to an army base, easily walking in and encountering little resistance. Once he gets to his destination, a small spy satellite in the nose of a jet in the hangar, he karate chops a man, plants a bomb, and just before he can make his escape, is surrounded by guards with automatic weapons. It seems the colonel he was impersonating was already on the base. The guards drive him away, but not before his contact follows suit with his horse trailer in tow.
I do love that this adds to James Bond being bad at his job. That is my favorite thing throughout this whole franchise. He's actually kind of bad at his job.
Well, he just walks in, no resistance at all. Like,
and also, like, I do give the film a touch of credit, because Moore does look a lot like the guy that he was impersonating. I was
Good
like,
casting.
hey, good casting. He's like, hey, nice. That works out. With people who are definitely not Fidel Castro. Like definitely not big tall guy with a big beard and a cigar. Like definitely not who they're talking about.
No.
Oh,
Why would
funny.
you even assume that? I don't know why.
That's what he was missing. More cigars just like line his mouth. There you go. She distracts the guards as she drives by with her best hair tosses, of course. And Bond is able to leap into her truck, gunning down the officers who had captured him. He then unhooks the trailer, and out of the rear end of the fake horse in the back, he flies a high-speed prop jet into the air to make his escape. Gavin always gives me the silliest sentences. I don't read ahead, and this is why.
The amount of fake animals in this movie
Right.
is
Exactly.
really delightful.
Are
Like,
there more
just,
fake animals or real animals?
more fake animals.
Yeah. This feels like a weird psychological test you're conducting, Chels. Ben, do
I'm
you see more
testing
fake
Ben's
animals?
Jurassic Park knowledge because I feel like animatronics. This is the pathway, James Bond to Jurassic Park right now.
Well, I mean, there's really something to be said about a massive horse ass and tail going
Yes.
straight into the air and then a very phallic object immediately appearing. Like,
Clearly. I also, speaking of bad disguises, who was buying that was a real horse end? That was like,
The Trojans would not buy that.
no.
and every time I saw it, I saw it this time, and both times I was just like, I don't know if that plane would actually fit in there. It's like, it's very much the suspension of disbelief. But I mean, like, a plane is coming out of a horse trailer, and I really expected that horse trailer to just fly past the car after
Yeah.
he unhooked it. But I mean, whatever.
A heat-seeking missile is fired at the jet, but Bond flies back into the military hangar and clean through it as his pursuers are too late closing the other side. He escapes as they all blow up. Bond is quite proud of himself until he notices he's out of gas, so he lands the tiny plane at a gas station and says, "Fill her up, please," with a smile.
I did cackle.
So that, I guess John Glenn was like, that joke doesn't work, cut it. And then the trailer editors, and here's something we don't often talk about. When you're making a trailer, oftentimes it's the studio doing it. The people making the movie have very little hand in advertising their own movie. And they have access to everything. So they do not know what's in the movie. They do not know what's being cut and whatnot. The trailer editor put it in the trailer and it got tons of laughs. And so John Glenn was like, fuck it, keep it in.
See, this
is why there's so many scenes in Rogue One that you're like, that wasn't it. That was in the trailer. Where is it now?
And then you have, like, see, this is my appreciation for a guy like Fincher, who's just like, I'm going to cut the trailers.
Yes.
And I'm going to control the marketing because I want to be, because he's an insane person. So he has to be able to do all that kind of stuff for himself.
Mr. 99 Takes is insane? Meanwhile, Maurice Bender takes over for the opening sequence as a pair of ladies' hands just close around Bond's face to the sound of sultry saxophones. We're treated to the sleepiest of James Bond themes as silhouettes dance on swirling backgrounds. Neon James Bond trace. The way I forgot most of the sequence until I'm reading it now. Neon James Bonds trace naked women's bodies with some very clear nipples and a negative Xerox of Roger Moore is hugged by 8 arms all holding guns. All that plus lasers.
It's got to be one of the cheapest of the opening sequences. It's the Laura Branigan Gloria video of James Bond's opening theme songs. You're just like, you know what? We have these like 4 models over here. Couple pasties, maybe not in every place.
I was gonna say, I don't think there were pasties.
And then also we have access to this skating rink where these people are doing these tandem skaters. This guy obviously going to be in a suit. This woman will be naked, and they will be doing tandem ice skating tricks and lasers.
If only the song was as catchy as Gloria.
Oh, man. Can you imagine what a banger that would start as the movie?
I would love it. Octopussy, pussy.
Yeah, exactly.
I talked about it in the last episode. Sometimes it feels like Maurice Binder's a little on autopilot or like a little lacking for ideas. And I think this was also the case where he was like, I don't know about this one. Why don't we just more nipples? Well,
They should have brought
like,
Sheena Easton back for this one. She could have sang it at us.
she could have sang it at us. I will say the arms I do like. That is the one.
That was, I agree.
Yeah. That's the one idea that I think is interesting in it. Suddenly, we are at a circus in East Berlin as a man is in hot pursuit of a clown. The clown puts up a fight against not one, but twins with a set of very sharp knives. Also skilled knife throwers, they get him square in the back as he falls over the side of a small dam. But shed no tears for this clown yet, as he's able to pull himself from the water and make his way to an opulent house. He then crashes through their window, dead, dropping a Fabergé egg in the general direction of an old rich couple who inhabit the mansion.
So I believe this is the British ambassador's consulate or something
Yes.
like that. He just kind of stumbles through the gates.
Yes, which
And
nobody with a machine gun, nobody like it's not very well protected British, embassy.
this is East Berlin, correct?
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, kind of heightened
1983,
security.
gang.
Kind of heightened security should be at the case. So, I
And
mean,
it's not
Switch.
it's not like he's sneaking around. He's got a full face of paint.
he's a friggin' clown.
He's a
yeah.
clown.
Too many clowns. Back in England, Bond is introduced to Miss Moneypenny's new assistant, Penelope Smallbone. Nah, I like her Smallbush. I'm calling her that from now on. Bond immediately sexually harasses her, and Moneypenny complains that he just doesn't sexually harass her the same way anymore. Bond goes to M's office as both women sigh like lovesick kittens.
Welcome to Universal Exports.
Take it, dear. That's all you'll ever get from him.
Thank you, Commander Bond.
You know me?
Miss Moneypenny described you.
In nauseating detail.
Really?
I've been complaining over the last couple episodes that I wish there were more Miss Moneypenny, and this is certainly the case because this one feels like this one is just her being like, I have an assistant now. Why don't you sexually harass me anymore?
This is why she should have been the new M. This is
Yeah.
her assistant training as she's doing things. See, we're rewriting her story.
And let's not besmirch this woman. She is exceptional in how many movies is this now? This
is 13. This is
It's
the
13 for her.
13th James Bond film.
And
yeah.
and may we say, aging like a fine wine. Just
Oh,
a
love of my
beautiful
life.
woman. Oh my lord.
I know. It's a shame. Bond meets with M, the Minister of Defense, and MI6's art expert on art. I just love that they're like, yeah, we have an art expert. What? You gonna ask us questions about that, Bond? No. M asks James if he knows what a Fabergé egg is, and Bond passes with flying colors, except that he doesn't know the one he is holding is a forgery. Bond is tasked with tracking down the real one at an auction, as they believe this forgery nonsense could have something to do with the Russians trying to raise funds. M alerts him that they need him on the job as a replacement for 009, who was the clown killed in East Germany. Bond says that they do have one lead, the property of a lady in the auction guide, a clever shout out for Bond readers.
Back in the USSR, thanks Beatles, the returning General Gogol is attempting to convince the gathered generals that they should join NATO. However, General Orlov, first off, this guy was wild.
Yeah.
Eating every bit of scenery. It's not even
Oh my
chewing.
God.
It's
My
just devouring. Orlov thinks this would be a sign of weakness. He rotates the table towards the map as we get a very wide shot of the impressive set. This production designer, Peter Lamont, is doing his best Ken Adams impersonation and pulling it off spectacularly. He really was.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy had to have a lot to eat for that scenery. Orlov explains how fortified East Germany is under his supervision, claiming he alone can invade Western Europe and annex all of Europe. Sure. The head of the USSR chooses Gogol over Orlov and states that worldwide socialism will be brought about peacefully, just as Orlov is given a message he's needed elsewhere. I personally would love some nice, peaceful worldwide socialism right about now.
Maybe he had some ideas. Just say.
Like you said, Steven Berkoff in this movie is just on another level of unhinged, of just action and being like, I'm gonna see how wide I can make my eyes so I can give myself a
Yeah.
headache. Like
I think he needed a downer with his cocaine.
Yeah, that you could tell. It's like he's definitely one who is taking lines in between. Is like, okay, we're on number 3. Hang on, boss. Turns and then comes back. Shout out to him. Beverly Hills Cop is what I always think of him as.
Yes. Well, the funny thing is, so I think for all intents and purposes, he's the real villain in the movie, right? He's actually the big bad. Yeah. But he's not treated like the big bad in the movie. Kamal Khan is, because he's the one who's getting everything done. And so I truly think he's just taking every scene he can and being like, guys, I'm the one here.
You will remember me.
Yes, exactly. And I don't always think it's great, but I do think he's certainly there.
Must I remind you, the committee, of our overwhelming superiority over NATO forces before we give it away?
And I did write that line specifically about Peter Lamont just because one of the things that Peter Lamont was instructed in For Your Eyes Only is to make everything as realistic as possible. And I loved that, like, beautiful shout out to Ken Adam by doing this like crazy ornate like USSR set that we were only going to see for one scene. We never revisit
rotating.
That
Oh yeah,
it's amazing.
Also, I do want to shout out Burkhoff real quick because in his Wikipedia, it is an incredible sentence here. As a theater maker, he is recognized for his staging work with a heightened performance style known as Berkovian theater, which combines elements of physical theater, total theater, and expressionism. His work has sometimes been viewed as an example of in-your-face theater due to the intense presentation and taboo-breaking material in a number of his plays. It shows.
Yes,
he is very successful in his personal style of acting that he has decided to name after himself.
Correct, yes.
Very that. At the Kremlin Art Repository, Orlov is alerted that the fake Fabergé egg has been compromised. He orders a new one made, but there's no time. At the Sotheby's auction, the art expert warns Bond that the egg itself shouldn't fetch more than £300,000 and expresses his displeasure of Bond's roving eye for women. A man in the back bids £320,000, and the expert states that's Kamal Khan, who is normally an art seller. Khan raises the bid to £400,000, but like a curious cat, Bond bids $420 to see how bad Khan wants it. Bond has them bring the egg to him for a closer look and cleverly switches the egg with the fake and finally raises the price, forcing Khan to raise his bid to £500,000.
I don't know if cleverly is the right word there. Like the thing I really enjoyed is like, I was willing to pay $400. $420. Let me get another look at that thing. Like, it's like, what are you doing, guy? Like,
yeah.
I do love that the whole time Bond's little buddy next to him's like, no, don't spend our money like that. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Out.
Though he's going to like ruin a bunch of gadgets that probably cost way more than that very soon in the film.
Oh yeah, give him 5 minutes. Speaking of, Bond follows Khan and his female assistant out to the street as they get into a limousine. He motions for a man to follow them. Back in England, M chastises Bond for his reckless bidding, but Bond says he would have claimed it a fake and not paid, revealing his switcheroo. Bond thinks the fake will smoke out whatever the plan is for the egg, and when M orders him to head to India, which Bond reveals he is leaving for in 55 minutes, this is so funny, Bond. I cannot with him in time. Bond is one step ahead of this new M, if you believe it's a new M. I do not believe. I am not a believer. This is not my X-Files.
We're greeted to the sights and sounds of India as Bond, in an immaculate tan suit, steps out of a boat.
Nice suit.
Yeah, very good suit. A snake charmer plays the Bond theme on a flute, sure, calling Bond to him, revealing himself to be a fellow agent working for, quote, Universal Exports, by the name of Vijay. He also points out this terrible cover as he hates snakes, which I guess is a true thing that Vijay also hated snakes. So it was a kind of an in-joke for him too. But also, why would the audience know that? They climb into an open taxi being driven by Sadruddin, the head of MI6's section in India. Vijay fills Bond in on Kamal Khan, an exiled Afghan prince and sportsman, dropping that he also plays a bit of tennis himself. Wink.
Big wink.
Can we shout out VJ? Because he's a lot of fun. And
He's great too.
A lot of
yeah.
energy in this movie. Like as soon as he's in there, I was like, "Hey, VJ!" Like every
Also
time
very handsome. Thank
handsome
you
guy,
for your
yeah.
service, for your skincare routine.
And I also think it's hard getting into a well-established series when you've never acted before.
Totally.
And they put a lot of faith in him, and I think he's actually very good.
Yeah, I think so too. He has charm and he has like a charisma that you just don't expect, especially from like an athlete.
Very true. There are some really bad athletes turned actors out there in the world.
I know, we've seen their SNLs.
Yes.
Clips, not full episodes, goodness no. Vijay points out that Khan lives in the Monsoon Palace, a fortress high on a hill, but he plays backgammon in the evenings at the hotel Bond is booked at. They leave Bond to get settled, but not before he makes an anal sex joke. Bond checks into the hotel among some bikini-clad babes and is brought to his room where he instantly hits on the woman showing him his room. He also spots Magda, Kamal Khan's assistant from the auction, disembarking from a boat, curiously bearing an octopus flag.
So two things about this. First, the anal sex joke. One of the things that I've come to really appreciate about Roger Moore's James Bond that I have not appreciated when I was younger, Moore has, and I'm not saying that he is in any way, shape, or form, and I'm not like trying to claim him. He has a sexual fluidity that he brings to Bond. And so he like gives him his flute and he's like, here you go to play with your asp. And it's like clearly the double meaning, but it's like, I don't know, like there's something very queer about Roger Moore's James Bond. It'll happen again later in this very movie, and we got it in Moonraker too, and we got like that he is willing to make gay panic jokes that do not have a gay panic component to them. That I think anybody else they would if it were Connery, and I feel bad always blaming Connery. This is not Connery's fault. He's like a much more butch Bond. Like if Connery delivered that joke, it would feel demeaning. And it doesn't feel demeaning coming from Roger Moore. It feels like he's like being playful and coy, and this is not a thing that you have to worry about with him. And I think that's a really interesting thing, especially being a young queer person watching these films and growing up being like, you know what, it's okay to be a little fruity. It's fine.
It's funny actually if you can assign that exact same joke to each level of Bonds. You're like, okay, well, Connery wouldn't deliver it, or he'd put too much stank on it.
There'd be gay panic, yeah.
There'd be gay panic, and it's like I think I'm not sure if like Brosnan or Dalton could even pull it off.
No,
Craig would make it sexy somehow.
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
it's like
I feel like Brosnan Mamma Mia era could. Brosnan
okay.
90s
Yeah.
era could not.
Yeah, I think Brosnan had to age into it. I think that's actually very correct.
I think Mamma Mia really like unlocked something in Brosnan to where he was allowed to have fun with his life. Because even in something like Mrs. Doubtfire, it's just like you're a stuffy hot man.
I would argue you could do the same thing with Dalton, like Hot Fuzz level Dalton.
Yes.
Like probably pull that off, but not James Bond Dalton.
And then Lazenby would punch somebody if they made a gay joke about him.
I thought he was going to sleep with the receptionist, the lady helping the bags. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, cool, sleep with her. Yeah, that'd be nifty.
Well, I love that there is like chemistry there, and she's kind of like, I'm on the clock, babe. I gotta go. Like I'm working here. You want to pay for it? Fine, but I'm making bank right now. The other thing I did want to mention, the octopus flag. They had to like go out of their way to make sure, once again, because Kim McClory is off making his Thunderball, they no longer have the rights to do anything Spectre. They had to make sure the octopus flag looked nothing like the octopus on the Spectre symbol. And so that's why it's very colorful and the legs are in a very different position and whatnot.
It's a gay octopus, we get it.
Exactly. Down in the lobby, Khan is fleecing a major at backgammon. Who knew it was such a competitive sport? But Bond spots him palming the dice and cheating. He joins Magda, will we ever hear her name, at the bar, and admits that he was at the auction. Knowing she is now part of some game he is playing, she leaves before he can buy her a drink. Back at the backgammon table, Bond offers to step in for the major, taking a 100,000 rupee bet. Bond initially loses and doubles the pot and offers the Fabergé egg as collateral. He takes Khan's lucky dice and wins. Khan starts to write him a check for 20,000 rupees, but Bond prefers cash. Khan warns Bond to spend the money quickly as his henchman Gobinda crushes the rigged dice with his bare hand. And that's what I mean by this feels like more classic, because that, like, Gobinda crushing the dice is very clearly a reference to Odd Job crushing the
Totally.
golf ball. Like that is like a 1-to-1 comparison to Goldfinger. And it's the same with like Bond noticing Goldfinger is playing with a rigged ball in golf as him catching Kamal Khan playing with rigged dice. So like we're doing a little greatest hits here, which I'm fine with because it doesn't feel repetitive because the situation is different, but it feels more like we're reaching for something we've already done before.
Yeah, it's like trying to keep an audience in the familiar nostalgia place because of the Connery one that's coming.
Yeah,
It-
exactly.
It also made me laugh because it's like they're acting like 100,000 rupees or 200,000 rupees is a lot of money. It's about $1,000.
Right. Well, I was thinking that
it's not insignificant, but at the same time, it's not like this gargantuan amount of money.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the things I think that these films never take into account. Like every time, not to bring up Drag Race, which we do every episode, but every time they announce like a prize on a different country's Drag Race, I immediately like look at what, and I'm like, oh, like that's like $32,000, like,
Yeah.
which is more money than I could make in one transaction, but it's still like,
Until you get to Drag Race UK and you're like, oh, they get no money.
yeah, or reverse of that, you get to Drag Race Canada and they don't get taxes taken out, so they're making the most.
You need a great deal of luck to get out of this.
Oh, luck. Well, then I shall use player's privilege and use your lucky dice. It's all in the wrist. Double sixes. Fancy that. 200,000 rupees.
Bond distributes his winnings among Vijay and Sedrudin and gets into another taxi. Gobinda pursues them through the streets of India, blunderbuss in hand. Vijay's taxi is almost overtaken by Khan's assassins as they board, but he fights them off with a tennis racket, which was pretty fun. That
Yeah,
was
very cool.
nice. Love that. One manages to stab Bond in the heart, but it only pierces a fat stack of his cash winnings, and they lose the men, jumping an annoyed camel as they do so.
Even these movies, like there's like good action sequence, they have to end with the stupidest thing. Like
Yes.
it's like even the throwing the rupees in the air and making that, it's like that's a good way to finish that. That's like
Yeah.
a smart way to end.
Distract
But
people with money.
why'd you jump a camel? Like, it's like
Shout out to our previous guests, Tommy and Cass. By the way, their favorite thing in Moonraker is a pigeon that does a double take. This camel is essentially doing the same thing, where it's just like, what the fuck is happening here on this day? Why am I here?
If this was like a film with CGI, they would cut to the camel's face and its eyes would bulge out in a very fake way.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad we do not have that. That's a little too Kangaroo
Thank
Jack.
goodness.
Unfortunately, Vijay and Bond are stopped by a street celebration, and Bond tries to hide in the crowd only to walk across hot coals, impale a pursuer on a bed of clearly rubber nails, and fend himself off with a torch from a juggler and a sword from a sword swallower before Vijay is able to pick him up. Bond throws the money he gave Vijay out the back of the taxi to create a distraction, and their taxi drives through a billboard, which is instantly replaced with another.
definitely nothing problematic in this.
I was
this
gonna say,
sequence.
yeah, it's a little colonizer-y to be like, ooh, the hot coals, the bed of nails, the like. It's like, okay, guy, we got it. You're trying for local colors, but you're coming off racist.
Yeah.
It's just all the great, like, especially now, it's like, oh, this is the greatest hits of like of a Kipling novel that you expect.
Yes.
Like, it's like, okay, whatever.
That's a great way to describe it. It feels very Rudyard Kipling. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Vijay leads Bond to Q's lab in India, where Q laments that Bond isn't dead yet. We get it. We
I
get
know.
it.
I love Q. I love that Q's like, Jesus, just fucking die. Come on.
So upset that 009's gone and it could have been 007.
Ah, Q. How are you? Most unhappy 007, thanks to you. How can I be expected to maintain the quality of my work? Sent out here at a moment's notice? No proper facilities?
Yes, well, you wouldn't have a smaller piece of thread than that, would you, Q? Somebody seems to have stuck a knife in my wallet.
Oh, they missed you. What a pity.
Bond requests a new jacket and gun and jokes about Q's erection. Okay. We're also treated to a trapped spike door and trick rope. Q has been placing a tracking device into the Fabergé egg that connects to Bond's watch. Q also shows Bond a pen that spits acid, which I need, and Bond makes the same joke that they made fun of in the Casino Royale spoof. The pen also contains a hidden earpiece, and Q is dismayed when Bond points an experimental camera at the cleavage of one of his assistants. She also looks none too pleased. I will say this did feel lazy.
Yeah.
That
Very.
joke.
Before we even talk about that, I think it's so funny that they do the poison pen joke because like literally they already did that joke in the 60s in the Bond spoof and they made fun of it in that movie. They were like, it's not a good joke, guys. And it's so funny that like they do it here. It's that to me is like, oh, this is old, not old Bond as in like nostalgia Bond. Like this is old man Bond.
Yeah.
And even like the cleavage thing, the whole time, it kind of made me a little upset, not because of the cleavage itself, because I am a straight man and just enjoying that part of it. But I mean, like, Moore's entire thing is he's a gentleman that kind of is betraying the character. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, that's not really what he does.
Right.
Like,
yeah, he's much
that's
more clever with his like sexual harassment of women.
That's like a
much more
teen- that's-
charming about it to where
It's
it's
like a
oh, this
teenage
rascal.
move. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like oh, boobs. Oh. Like, it's just like, well, that's not really what you do.
And admittedly, this is just a background actress, but when it does show her as he's leaving, she does look annoyed. She looks like a little pissed off that like this is what's happening. So yeah, it's like a gross sexist male fantasy in a way that like I don't even think most men really care for. Like kind of the base of the base is where that's being played
Yeah.
at, and it's not great. Back at his hotel, Bond is told his dinner guest is waiting for him, and he's brought to a table where Magda joins him for a drink. She proposes a trade, the egg for his life. Even though she seems annoyed at Bond, she joins him in his room for sex and more champagne. On her back, you notice what is clearly a temporary tattoo of an octopus. That close-up of that tattoo, I was like, they
that
stuck that on
tattoo
the
is
water.
fake as hell. I have like somewhere between 13 and 16 tattoos. Fake as
Yeah.
hell.
And you could
Just
see the outline.
Cracker Jack box.
Yeah.
Ass tattoo. Like, just absolutely.
When he asks her about it, she says it's her little Octopussy to his shock. He wakes in the night to see her sneaking out, attempting to steal the egg. He lets her have it as he has the tracking device activated. She ties her dress to the balcony and uses it to scale down the hotel as Khan picks her up. Bond, impressed, heads back to his room just in time to get brained by Gobinda with a club. That we talked about it a bit earlier. The Magda doing the like spin down using her dress as like a rope is so cool. That is actually the actress herself. That is not a stunt double. They asked her if she wanted to do it because they knew they had the safety precautions in place. And not only did she do it once, she had to do it twice because the interior of his hotel room is a set on studio and the exterior is shot on location. So she did do it twice safely and perfectly, and it's
It
one of her
looks
favorite
so
things.
cool.
It's so cool.
And also shout out to her because at the, especially like in the 80s, you see just like skinny women who are attractive, skinny women. She is not an attractive, skinny woman. She is jacked.
Yeah.
Like she is like, man, you are a dancer or something. Like you are not just like a skinny person. And
Yeah,
you're just like,
she has
oh,
muscles in her back that people only wish they could have.
Yes, she is yoked. Yeah, but
Oh, she was so cool. Like, again, these are the things that get my attention.
shocking.
I know. That morning, we're shown Khan on a boat manned by only women being brought to a palace in the middle of a lake. Each woman's outfit is more colorful and garish than the last. Finally, Khan enters the room of Octopussy, who we never see the face of in this scene. He's announcing the egg has been recovered. He fills her in on Bond, but doesn't seem to know he's a spy. Octopussy tells Khan to bring him to her.
Yeah, I do like that this is a little bit like because we're not really getting, even though like obviously it ends up being kind of reversed that she's not actually like the real big bad. I like that we're getting we're getting something to like hang on to as an audience for plot. We're like, okay, intrigue, interesting. Let's try this for a bit. But I think that's also part of the problem with this movie is it has so many ideas and they don't necessarily all pay off because I think the payoff of the revelation as to who Octopussy is ends up actually not being that important.
I also think it's kind of like a Khan problem because I don't think Khan's all that interesting. He doesn't really have much to do. And he doesn't have much personality. And
He's just a pretty face.
And even that, like, I've always, like, especially with Bond movies, I'm like, why do people follow this guy?
Right.
Like, why is he the guy? Like,
I wonder if maybe it is the problem with maybe Louis Jordan is sort of the problem though. Not saying that he's not playing the role right. He's doing very good. I wonder if they should have cast somebody more weaselly because he is like a backstabber. Like that's his whole deal in that like he and so they got the charmingness right. Like you understand why people like look at him and like okay, but he doesn't get the double crossing right. Like you almost need this happens much later and we'll obviously talk about it then, but this is like a Quantum of Solace problem too, where Matthew Almeric is the villain in that movie and he's great, like physically good casting, but just not right for the role. And I think you're saying the same thing, Ben, but I wonder what the fix is. I wonder if it's I don't know if it's the writing, if it's the like what, but there is a missing element. You're right.
He's
I feel
completely
like it's in
asexual.
the writing and direction too.
Yeah.
It's so funny kind of having like a mirror of Bond. It's like, oh, he's the equal of it's like, well,
yes.
But this guy is so uninterested in anything but the goal.
Yeah.
And it's like all these women around, he's allowed on this island and he doesn't like look twice. He just doesn't care. And we have no gauge of anything about this guy outside of he's trying to do this or that. Like,
yeah. He's purely motivation driven, and that motivation doesn't feel strong enough to like give us personality. Interesting. Much to think about. Bond wakes in Khan's hilltop fortress, his tracking device alerting to him that the egg is near. That is a loud fucking tracking device, by the way. That's one of those things where like that the sound is only diegetic for the audience, like because it couldn't, because that would be giving him away constantly if he's going everywhere and it's just going beep beep beep.
That's his air tag going off.
Exactly. Bond, now in a black tux, joins Khan and Magda for dinner at the estate, where he finally learns Magda's name. Bond asks, he's already slept with her, by the way. He has already slept with her and he's just learning her name. Bond asks why he isn't dead since they have the egg, and Khan says he's there for answers and reveals they're willing to drug him for it, a threat that is never followed up on. Before serving him a stuffed sheep's head, Khan wastes no time in eating one of the sheep's eyes in just 2 bites. Bond is shown to his room, inviting Magda and then Gobinda in for drinks, but both turn him down. I begin to think Bond might be a sex maniac.
I mean, Gobinda is very handsome, so.
Oh my God, Gobinda, like out of the villains, out of the like male villains, Gobinda is the hottest. Oh, 100%.
It's like he kind of sort of should have been the main villain, maybe.
Yeah,
he's got that menace that I think Khan is missing.
It's so funny. We just learned this year, maybe it was last year at this point, that that sexual addiction's not really a real thing. It was sort of invented by religion to like make people feel bad about. But I do think, part of me is like, Bond is willing to seduce anyone. Like once again,
he
it's
likes
that
a
situation.
Challenge.
He like a challenge. Exactly. It's one of those things where he like, when Magda turns him down, he like turns to Gominda. He's like, I don't suppose you'd want to drink. Like he just like can't help himself. And I love it. I love Roger Moore. That part of Roger Moore is like
some do it for the money, some do it for the love of the game. I mean, just
exactly.
Exactly.
Well, I'll say goodnight.
I could come in for a nightcap. Some other time, perhaps. I don't suppose you'd care for a nightcap? No.
Bond uses his pen to melt the bottom of the bars in his window and attempt to escape. He disturbed a bird, on a ledge though, and it jump scares the audience, a John Glenn signature, of course, and spots a helicopter carrying General Orlov arriving at the compound as he climbs back inside. Bond quickly sneaks past a sleeping guard, but not before Magda notices. He tracks the egg down and uses his earpiece to spy on the meeting of Orlov and Khan, where Khan has been supplying fake Russian jewels for Orlov and receiving real ones as payment. Bond overhears that they are to meet in Germany at Karl Marx Stadt. Orlov breaks the real egg, only for Khan to see the tracker inside it. Bond hides inside a meat locker that is filled with dead men.
It is never brought up again that they destroy the real like that they did, because that's the one the what are they called, the Fabergé egg that MI6 had is the real one, because Bond switched them out.
Yeah.
So the one that Q is putting the tracker in is the real Fabergé egg, and Orloff destroys it, and it is never brought up that that's the one they ruined, which I think is so funny.
And these little things are always funny like that. Like, oh, we destroyed the real Fabergé egg. Also, when he's hiding in the meat locker, and I think Gobinda is in there like rooting around, where does he hide? He's like just in the corner. Like just he's like in the roof. He's not like inside a pig or that. He's like, no, he's just in the corner, like with his collar up because it's chilly, and pretty funny.
Bond hides among the bodies, which are loaded into the back of a Jeep, and makes his escape as he's driven off the property. However, he runs right into Khan's hunting grounds, which include a tiger, spiders, snakes, and many men with guns on top of elephants. Bond is able to tame the tiger, ? And then swing through the trees doing the Tarzan call, only to land in leech-infested waters. He finally makes it to the shore where he spots a boat full of American tourists that are willing to pick him up. Khan is not worried, though, and confident he will soon be recaptured.
Let's talk about the elephants.
I love the American tourists.
Telling a tiger to sit. Tarzan. This is the goofiest part of the movie. It did not make any damn sense, but I was okay with it.
Michael G. Wilson apparently is one of the American tourists. The future James Bond producer, Michael G. Wilson, he's apparently amongst them, which I think is very funny. I agree, Ben. I love the American tourists. I love him telling the tiger to sit. It makes no sense at all. Tigers do not listen to human commands, especially wild tigers.
Burning a leech off, telling a snake to piss off. Like,
yeah.
So I couldn't. So my Bond memory is as fuzzy as on this rewatch, and I was thinking, is this the one with the goofy cop showing back up for a second movie? And I was really hoping it would be, but I was like, oh, if they're on the boat, I'm gonna be so happy.
Honestly, he would have fit in, is the sad part.
Ben, how dare you? First of all, nobody hopes the goofy cop comes back.
I love the goofy cop. He's just so
this
stupid.
is how we know you're straight.
Yes,
Yeah,
there you go.
I know.
And if you recall, he is currently rotting to death in a Thai prison. So
That is true.
Okay, excuse me.
Not let
the
out.
last time we saw him.
Back at the Q division, Bond is filled in about Octopussy and her island of women, and that night sneaks into the compound using a personal submarine disguised as an alligator.
The best part of the movie.
Beautiful.
So goofy. Bond makes his way to Octopussy's room, but she has already spotted him on the cameras. Octopussy, looking a lot like Andrea Anders from a decade before, reveals that she knows he's a secret agent. He accuses her of smuggling jewels, and she denies it and reminds Bond of an earlier adventure he had that reads remarkably like the short story Octopussy. Turns out the man who killed himself was her father in this version, and she wants to thank Bond for letting her father keep his honor.
So I saw this scene, and the crocodile alligator submarine obviously made me laugh. But as soon as he's spying on the island, butt shot, by the way, that's fun. I thought of Chelsea immediately. I was like, ooh, Sapphic Island. That's fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah,
like,
that's where my people are.
Yeah, it's like, man, you want to talk about a place that she would just suit. Like, just like, you know what? Just a bunch of girls just hanging out. Like,
Exactly. Not only just hanging out, like training in the arts of both circus and assassin. And once again, reheating the nachos, you have a villain who has as an all-female circus, like at her command. It reads a little pussy galore.
I'm telling you. They had some great ideas there.
Just then, Khan interrupts to tell her Bond has escaped, and she chastises him before introducing Bond as her new house guest. Khan and Bond trade barbs, but Octopussy refuses to let Khan kill Bond and dismisses him. Octopussy then explains her father loved octopi and nicknamed her Octopussy, much to Bond's bewilderment. She tells him he can leave, but would prefer he stay on as a guest and has him shown to his room. She then instructs her women to extend him every courtesy, but double the guards on that room.
I did enjoy the, like, hey, you can be here. Cool. Not in this room. Cool. Like,
Yeah.
it was just almost immediately like, well, we might sleep together, but it's not going to happen right now. So
Yeah,
go ahead.
exactly.
Like,
We're gonna put a hot.
Back on the mainland, Khan hires some assassins to do away with Bond, but tells them that Octopussy is not to be harmed. As Q watches Bond from the shore disguised as a fisherman, Octopussy explains how she has created a safe haven for women, who she trains not just in smuggling but also in many forms of business. She also informs that she has to leave on a business trip to Europe and does hope Bond will stay. However, when Bond says he's not for hire, she storms out telling him she won't apologize to a paid assassin for what she is. He follows her, and even though she is still angry at him, they make love in her gorgeous octopus-shaped bed. I did love her sticking up for herself and calling him out on his bullshit.
Me too. He's a man who kills people for his profession.
Paid assassin.
Right. So she's like, I steal fucking money, dude. Okay. That's.
She's a businesswoman.
Yeah.
Isn't that what business is? Just taking money.
Exactly. Capitalism in its highest form.
Totally.
I love that bed. That is another Peter Lamont specialty. It was 100% fabricated for this movie. And is another, like, I in my heart of hearts wish that they weren't so insistent on this era of post Moonraker Bond feeling a little more real. Wish they could have let Peter Lamont go all out, because I think he could rival Ken Adam in terms of like
maximalism.
Exactly. And unfortunately they just want because Peter Lamont even talks about it in his book, like they went to these palaces and he made sure like he got every detail down on the inside if they were shooting them on the outside. And it's like, that's cool and all, but wouldn't it be more amazing if this was like insane?
Gavin, you'll be happy to know for your 5th anniversary, I will be getting you the Octopussy bed, a recreation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Vijay, having replaced Q on monitor duty, is overtaken by Gobinda and his men and meets an untimely demise at the blade of a circular saw.
This did make me jump. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God. Like, you don't see really anything except the blade coming down, but that did make me jump.
Waking up next to Octopussy, Bond doesn't notice that the blade-wielding assassins have snuck onto the island as well. Octopussy asks him back to bed, and alerted by a drop of water from the yo-yo-like buzzsaw, is able to push himself and Octopussy out of the way as it slices through the bed. A fight ensues, one man dying by octopus, another drugged, and the yo-yo buzzsaw guy being taken out by an alligator after tumbling out a window with Bond. Octopussy gazes in horror as she thinks Bond is also eaten.
I took a picture of the
Thank you.
octopus
Yes.
basically getting frisky on that man's face because that was a wild moment.
This is 4 years after Alien. So, I mean,
Yes.
obvious allusion to that.
But also that octopus was thrusting onto his face.
And that is a very good prop. It is not a real
Very.
octopus.
Thank goodness. They're too smart for this nonsense.
Be like, excuse me, sir. Yeah, speaking of getting injured, the actor playing the yo-yo blade guy, when he falls off the balcony onto the bed, that is a real thing that happened. He was supposed to fall later, and unfortunately he leaned over too far. It happened too soon. He breaks his left arm, and you can actually see it later. Like, he refused to stop filming, so he came back with a cast on his arm, and you can see it when he gets up and fights Roger Moore that there is in fact a cast on his left arm.
Jeez.
Y'all, you don't have to try to impress people like this.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Cocaine.
Yeah,
That's true.
Also, are we to assume that the alligator that eats Buzzsaw guy is just the alligator sub? Because
This is a good
scene-
question. It is he is calmly dry, by the way, coming out of that alligator.
Yeah,
So I mean,
absolutely.
like, it's
Speaking of, back on shore, an alligator sneaks up on Q, but don't worry, it's just Bond and his ultra-realistic, certainly not fake alligator submarine. Q and Bond mourn Vijay, and Bond tells Q to alert M to meet him in Berlin, as he has to go to Octopussy Circus there and Karl Marx Stadt after he found a flyer in Octopussy's room. That happened earlier, but I didn't feel like calling it out then.
I will say I am pro alligators in these movies because alligators, while terrifying, and I will not go to Florida for these reasons, are also kind of silly looking. They silly.
I've never brought this up before, but when I started getting into Bond as like a preteen and I had the VHS set of the Roger Moore movies, I remember letting a friend borrow it. And this was his line, was the alligator and the Tarzan call. And he's like, I don't know, they're too silly and whatnot. And this was not my line. I was like, no, I am in.
But glued in.
At the circus, the knife-throwing twins are thrilling the audience as Bond sits across from Khan, Octopussy, and Orlov. He attempts to hide himself from Magda, who he also sees in the audience, and disguises himself as a circus worker so he can follow the three as they leave. Back in Moscow, Gogol and his men arrest the art forger, just as Octopussy examines the real jewels which have been placed on her train and welded into a safe.
This is the moment where I was like, okay, like the difference between Roger Moore and every other Bond, before and since, and I probably going forward since, is Moore is willing to sign up for whatever buffoonery they ask him. He's willing to do and look as stupid as he possibly can in order to achieve the thing. Like, he's like, oh, what goofy outfit do I have to adorn now? What thing do I have to do next? It's like, gorilla suit, got it. Full clown makeup, on it the whole time. Like, can you imagine in your life Sean Connery being in a gorilla suit? Never.
No, genuinely no.
Like, again, Roger Moore, deeply unserious man. What a silly
Totally.
Billy to be able
Yes.
to do all of this. This is where I'm really activated and it has my attention, and probably for all the wrong reasons. This is
Yeah.
the best part of the movie for me. Octopussy and her accomplices exit, but it's too late for Bond, who is trapped under the train and now stuck traveling with it. Able to slide out from under the train after it stops, Bond watches as the Knife Bros and Gobenda are instructed how to activate a nuclear bomb, which has been switched out for the jewels, of course. Bond is attacked by one of the knife guys as he retrieves the real jewels, but Bond knocks him out with a human-sized cannon and loads his body in it. Bond hides as Orlov retrieves most of the real jewels, but Bond gets the jump on him, dressed as the possibly deceased knife guy. Sorry, this is so silly, this whole sequence. Orlov explains that his hope is that the nuclear bomb going off at an American Air Force base without any clear launch point will look like an accident and forcing Europe and the US into unilateral disarmament, leaving them all undefended against a Russian attack. This is very dumb. This
Very.
is so stupid.
It's just assumption after assumption after
Right.
assumption.
And that's the thing, is especially knowing the reality we currently live in, can you imagine a nuclear bomb going off at a US Air Force base and anybody in charge not immediately blame, even lying, even making it up to blame somebody else?
No, it's the United States. Have you seen us? We would literally just quadruple down 20,000 times more nukes. That's what would happen.
Yeah. And
The
even
draft would come back.
even in the 80s, this is a preposterous plan.
Absolutely. And also I think, as you pointed out earlier, this is where the movie gets so confusing because the plan just feels so convoluted. And also Orlov has been out of the game for so long in this movie that when he comes back in, it's like, wait, what does this guy want again? What? Oh yeah, he wants to stop this. The Knife Bros, it's not spelled out enough that the one guy just dies from getting hit in the head with a cannon. Yeah. And when did Bond have time to switch into his costume? It's
Also,
a lot of
none
stuff.
of the jewel stuff has made sense since they broke the real Fabergé egg.
Right.
None of that makes sense or really has any real effect. I think they really lost the plot with that.
Well, that's
Really.
what's crazy is immediately the place where the Fabergé egg would be is immediately replaced with that Tsar star,
the Romanov star.
the Romanov star, and that becomes more important. And I think part of it is because they realized that they broke the real Fabergé egg and wrote themselves into a hole. So they were like, oh shit, we need something that's just as important. But yeah. Anyway, Bond escapes, killing several Russian guards, and grabs a car. His tires get blown up, but luckily the car is the same width as a train, and he is able to get it onto the tracks to try and catch up with the nuclear circus train. He uses an umbrella to keep the car moving and jumps to the train just in time for another train to come from the opposite direction and take out the car. Gogol catches up with Orlov's men, retrieves the jewels, but Orlov has gotten away. Back on the nuclear train, Bond is now disguised as a gorilla. Orlov catches up to the train, but before he can cross the border, he's gunned down by Gogol's men. Gogol calls him a common thief and a disgrace, but as Orlov dies, he says yes, but by tomorrow, I will be a Russian hero. Maybe the best line in the movie.
A common thief. A disgrace to the uniform.
Yes, but tomorrow I shall be a hero of the Soviet Union.
So Burkoff's doing a whole lot in these scenes.
Yeah.
It's also edited very, very interestingly because Burkoff is going bananas in the back of this car, and it's edited where you don't hear him say a word.
Yeah.
Like he's literally in the back seat, just all over the place, and he eventually gets out, and then he's just like running. Like, he's shot multiple times, crawling towards this train. I was like, what is the motivation here? Like,
right.
It's all very confusing, and like you said, cool finishing of that. It's like that's a really awesome epilogue for you, but what the hell?
Apparently that line was cut out in certain other countries as well, too, to sort of soften the idea that anybody in Russia would do something like this. And so I think that, obviously that's not like it wasn't seen as a popular way to present the villain for the international audiences. But
also, it's Russia. If they found somebody like that, they would just disappear them.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, true.
He accidentally fell out of a window.
Yep, exactly. I also just, I don't understand Khan's plan anymore now that Orlov is gone, because he was doing this in service of Orlov, and that is no longer the case, which admittedly Khan doesn't know that Orlov has been gunned down. But like, once Orlov is killed, the motivation for Khan to be doing anything feels a little moot.
Yeah, I think this does have so many screenwriters, so I think they genuinely lost the plot of what's going on. Like, the cocaine was a little too much, and they just forgot what was happening. They did not read through the entire script. There was obviously not a table read. Highly recommend they go back and make some adjustments. But not to this, because this is silly. Khan has the warhead armed for later that day, and Gobenda, suspicious of the gorilla, removes its head with a sword just in time for James to escape the train car through the ceiling. As Bond runs across the top of the train, Gobenda warns Khan that he is there. Gobenda is able to track Bond down to the top of the train as he attacks Bond with a sword. Knife Twin, too, joins them and tries to kill Bond in revenge for his brother. They fall off the train and he pins Bond to a door, but Bond is able to open the door and stab Knife Bro number 2 to death. Rest in peace, Super Knifeo brothers.
It's so funny, like it's the idea of like being on top of this train is so dangerous, and both of them fall off the train with nary a scratch. Like it's just
truly
just they tuck and roll and off they're running into the woods.
Yeah, I was
Like,
gonna say they
it's-
immediately pop up and run.
It's just-
Like,
Y'all, I am decades younger than Roger Moore, and if I just slipped and fell on my own 2 feet from the 4 foot something tall I am, I feel like I'd be down every single one.
every single bone, just like glass.
Every single
You know,
one.
we also overlook the Bond peeping Tom of Octopussy getting a massage.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like, and it was funny because I think what
Figures the straight guy would notice that.
well, it's the funniest thing about it is Khan was like, he jumps through, sees Bond, shoots at him, and Octopussy's like, "Who the hell was that?" And he's like, don't worry about it. And just like, it's like never told her it was Bond.
Right,
She's
right.
like-
well, because he has to lie to her because
Yeah,
she
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
want him to kill Bond.
such a silly sequence.
She's not done with him.
No,
she is not.
She's like, my bed may be been ruined, but I wanted to be the one that broke it, not spinning wheel guy.
Yeah.
The circus arrives at the Air Force Base as Bond tries to hitch a ride there. the goofiest scene in the world. Bond is picked up by some generous Germans who offer him sausage and beer, not a stereotype at all, but realizes he won't make the circus in time, so he steals a much nicer car and speeds away, chased by German police, just as Gobinda and Khan attempt to flee the circus. Bond makes it to the Air Force Base, but is still in hot pursuit by the police until he spots the clown trailer. And with less than 5 minutes till nuclear Armageddon, he's able to get in full professional clown beat on his face.
Quick
He
drag.
Yeah, exactly. He sneaks into the show and, to the audience's delight, tries to find the bomb, as another identical clown is arrested in his place. Cool, somehow. Bond is able to get over to the American general sitting next to Octopussy, unaware of the nuclear plot, and convince him that they have 90 seconds to disarm the bomb.
General, there's a bomb in that cannon.
Sure, where else would a bomb be? Great clown, then.
I'm deadly serious. I'm a British agent.
What?
For God's sake, tell him who I am. Kamal and Orloff double-crossed you. I saw them take the jewelry off the train.
I'm not unconvinced that this entire sequence is to make fun of the American military complex.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, and good, yeah, sure. But I mean, like, hey, the American Air Force Base is guarded by one rent-a-cop. Every general is a bumbling jackass. And by the way, they should all be dead if not for this this UK hero in full clown face.
Yeah, truly. And yeah, I don't know. It's such a funny thing when he runs over and he's like, there's a nuclear bomb there. And the general's like, oh, of course there is. What a great clown. Like, that's a thing a clown would say.
It's so funny.
It's preposterous. It's such a silly, that entire sequence, even like him like getting up on the ladder and trying to like look into the crowd. And then the guy in the cannon going like, dude, I got to get up the ladder. Like, it's like, what are we doing here? Like,
truly.
It is insane to me. But Bond fails to convince the general and proceeds to fight the entire circus to get to the bomb. No kidding. He literally fights an entire circus.
He fights to the
With
entire
an
circus.
axe in his
It's kind of
hand.
great.
Octopussy shoots the cannon door open to reveal the bomb, and Bond disarms it just as the clock ticks down to 0. Octopussy asks Magna where Kamal Khan was going as she heads to her revenge. Dun dun.
I will say, like, set and like gadget wise, the pulling out of that detonator and the shooting out of the barbs is pretty cool. Like, I was
Yes.
like, oh, that's a nice little thing. Like, it's almost like, of all the shit, like, if Roger Moore wasn't doing it in full clown face, it might be a little more effective. But as soon as that happened, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, like, we get it.
I think as a kid, I did not love Roger Moore in the clown makeup because I thought it was maybe a little too silly, but I kind of do love it. I kind of like, it is silly, but like, to me, it's no, like, the gorilla costume is silly. Like, this is actually kind of cool, but also makes no logical sense.
No.
Octopussy and her all-female assassin circus sneak into Khan's compound so she can kill Khan.
Chelsea's favorite part of the movie, undoubtedly.
Yeah. Khan tells her he knew nothing about the bomb and would never hurt her, but Gobinda spots the women in the compound and sends the guards to attack.
Y'all, and when I say this is silly, I'm sorry, Gavin. They are literally doing like acrobatics. There's poles involved in getting these women through the doors. The elephants are out there, like, with the assist.
It's also, once again, these women are dressed in costumes. Like, these
They
are not
in bright red, like, assassin costumes with like belts. This looks like Electra Woman and Dyna Girl.
Yes.
I put a note. It's like Flash Gordon ass costumes.
Yeah.
Like, just they look like I don't like. It's hilarious. Obviously, this is a circus performers climax of the movie type thing, but still.
They're trying to be sneaky, but have whole ass elephants and red costumes sneaking into this little palace thing. Like, it's wild. It was so silly. I had to pause and like cry laugh. It was great.
Bond flies in on a hot air balloon decorated like the Union Jack flag and piloted by Q as the women use their acrobatic skills to fight the guards. Bond spots Octopussy being led away and jumps into the building after her. He slides down the banister of the opulent house, mowing down Khan's guard with his machine gun before catching up with Khan and Gobinda, who have stolen some horses for their escape. Back at the fortress, Q rescues some of the women from a guard by crushing him with his hot air balloon basket, and the women reward him with kisses.
What are you doing? Yeah, cut it out. We haven't time for that. Later, perhaps.
This is the first time we actually feel like Q might have a penis. Like, this is like, it's the only time when it's like, you know what? Maybe I'll get in on this. Maybe Bond's got the right idea.
It's so funny. He's so awkward about it too, but then he like does turn and kiss one of their necks. And it was just like, he was finally like, okay, I guess we're going for it.
I guess so. This is what Bond gets out of it. I will say it's kind of weird because some of the sequence takes place at night and then it just goes straight to day when you get horses.
Straight to day.
That's why I was so confused at the end here.
And not even like, when you say it takes place at night, it doesn't feel like sunrise. It doesn't feel like we're at like
it's like
5
middle of the
a.m.
night because they're trying to be sneaky.
And also, like, I get that the Union Jack parachute that occurs in The Spy Who Loved Me is pandering, but it's beautiful. This just feels like, come on, guys. Like, you are spies. You're supposed to be undercover.
But get ready because we got a horse chase ahead of us. Khan, Gobinda, and a passed-out Octopussy board a small plane, but Bond is able to catch up by horse and climbs on top of this plane. He holds on as Khan tries to shake him, but Bond tries to shut down one of the plane's engines. Octopussy tries to stop Gobinda from heading out to fight Bond, but she is overwhelmed, and Gobinda tries to cut Bond with his knife on top of the aircraft. But Bond boops him on the nose with a metal antenna, and Gobinda falls to his death. Rest in peace. What a hottie. Bond then gets to Octopussy as he's able to force the plane lower, and the two jump from the plane as Khan crashes to his death. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, this whole sequence is great. And I guess like physics wise, but once again, who cares? Bond has been to space. If there weren't handles on the side of the plane, which they put in anyways, that's not a feature of that plane. Bond would, when they spun the plane upside down, the gravity would not have kept him there. That's not really how gravity works.
I did have the like what's the word, rectal impingement anytime they would go the deep steam. Just a little I was like that seemed like something that was probably not be the funnest thing in the world. And the fact that somebody is literally hanging onto this plane is a factor. And I'm like, well, okay, so this is what makes cocaine awesome sometimes, is they're just like, you know what, we're just gonna have somebody on this plane. What if they fall off? Cool, they'll have a parachute. It's fine.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We did talk about this in our Live and Let Die episode. Unfortunately, Gobinda's stunt double is a white guy painted to look Indian. And it's funny because I found like some behind the scenes stuff talking about like, yeah, he like them doing camera tests with him as Gobinda, and he's like, yeah, he doesn't look like him.
Here's B.J. Worth. He's doubling for Gobinda, and not doing too great a job of it, apparently.
Moore's stunt double looks a lot like Moore. And then also, as John Glenn points out, when you're up that high, there's a natural vibration because you're on a plane. And he's like, that certainly also helps hide appearances pretty well, too. So,
yeah. Oof. Yikes, John Glenn.
That being said, it did kind of make me like slightly chuckle every time Octopussy tried to fight Gobinda, and he just kind of like backhands her. And
yeah,
I was like, oh yeah, like you are a massive man. This thin woman's probably not going to get the jump on you.
And you have this supernatural strength to crush dice in your hands.
Yeah,
so
you're
exactly.
like, hey, sit down. No, I'm gonna no. And
even though she has her little circus assassin army she trains.
Yeah.
Gogol meets with the Minister of Defense in M's office, saying they will deny everything, but they'd like to thank Bond. However, M says he's too busy recuperating on a boat with Octopussy. Turns out he's faking those injuries so he can do his favorite thing and fuck on a boat.
Yeah. How many endings is that in James Bond where they just fuck on a boat?
I think, funny enough, even though this is the 13th Eon film, I think it's actually only 7. But
only a little over half.
But it feels like it's every movie.
Is a rocket ship not just a space boat?
You know, some would argue.
Yes.
The credits roll, and Rita Coolidge returns to lull you back to sleep, and we are told James Bond will return in From a View to a Kill, which is only a slight lie. The end.
Woo! We made it.
We did it.
Final thoughts on this adventure. I know we kind of talked about it throughout. I will just say, this still, obviously I will have to rewatch Die Another Day when we get to it. This still sort of fits my place of like the worst Bond, which it sucks doing this show and like really realizing like how racist it can be and still thinking this one is the worst. But this one is, it just makes me so sleepy.
I'll say, so far, this is not rating high for me, but again, the Toho Godzilla Bond
Yeah,
is still my
yeah,
least favorite. The Sean Connery does yellow face for no reason.
yeah.
Yeah, and as rewatching it now, for the campiness of it all, the silliness of it all, I really enjoy it. But it is by far the bottom rung of everything
Right.
that Bond can have. Like, it's not, doesn't have a good Bond girl, doesn't have a good Bond performance, doesn't have a good villain. It's all the silliness, is even the cool set pieces, the train, hanging on the train and hanging on the plane and all that kind of stuff, the plane at the beginning. That is keeping it around the conversation. It's by no means one where you're just like, oh yeah, that one. Even remembering, you're just like, I don't remember anything. And I've seen the movie in the last 48 hours and I barely remember parts. And we
Yeah,
went through
I've
the
watched
entire
it
plot
twice in
summary.
a couple days. I
Yes.
don't remember
Yeah.
much. I do think Magna and Octopussy are just not used to their full potential. I think there's
Correct.
good stuff there. They just needed more. And maybe they could have just combined some of these male villain roles and it would have been a little bit more interesting. Like, I think Khan and Gobinda could have been the same person, for instance. I think that
Yeah.
could have made it a little bit more exciting in the end. I don't know. And then Orlov, I guess either do more or less of that person.
And here's the thing, like, I hate when I listen to a podcast and people are completely negative, and hopefully that is not what our audience has walked away from this, because
Mhm.
I don't want that either. Like, I do have, there are beautiful moments of fun in this movie, and I do think like some of the more outrageousness. But yeah, it is that trying to, I feel like the last last 3 movies, they've found a way to really balance the highs and the lows of the camp and everything. And here it just didn't, like, it's either too campy or not enough campy, and it like never the tween shall meet. And like, you can't do campy Goldfinger unless you're willing to like go all out.
Exactly. I will say, though, the last 25 minutes of this movie were so deeply entertaining. You just have to, like, I don't know, these days take an edible and have a nice time. Just open your heart. Do not think too hard. And it'll be very silly fun.
It is silly fun. Way too much plot.
Way
Way
too
too
much
much
plot.
plot.
And they
plot
lost
that,
all of them.
and they doesn't make any sense. Yeah, yeah.
I do wish the compound fight looked a little better. Like, the compound looked a little less like a set. But yeah, you can't have everything. We do like to talk about the women here. We do like to talk about the villains and the gadgets. In terms of the Bond women that are presented in this film, Magda, Octopussy, the whole circus, I think they're great. I think Maud Adams is great. I understand why Roger Moore himself said that Maud Adams was his favorite of the Bond women, especially getting to do 2 movies with her. I just don't think that she, like, once again, why are her and Magda different people? Like, why can't they be one? Like, the whole like keeping us from knowing who Octopussy is ends up not making any sense.
He committed suicide rather than face the disgrace of a court-martial.
What's the connection?
He was my father. I'd hoped fate would bring us together one day.
To avenge him?
No, to thank you for giving him an honorable alternative.
I do like that Maud Adams and Christina Wayborn both are 2 of the Bond girls who show up in That 70s Show, that episode. I did read that fun fact, which is good for them.
But also do not rewatch that 70s Show.
No, the most cursed cast you'll ever see.
But Magda, Octopussy, Adams, obviously, they're all very lovely.
Yes. Yeah. They truly are gorgeous. In terms of the villains, Kamal Khan, Gobinda, Orlov, and Knife Bros. Obviously, Knife Bros, fine, whatever. You need that kind of disposable villain. Orlov, we talked about the problems with him. He either needs to be here more and maybe needs to dial it down. Kamal Khan and Gobinda, they should be the big bads. They do most of the
should.
legwork throughout the movie. And also, what a cute couple.
So cute.
Indeed.
Oh, shout out to Magda, the actress did a run on General Hospital in the late 80s. So
Very
good for
nice.
her. I always have to talk about that.
And she's good. I liked her. And then in terms of the gadgets, you have an acid pen, you have a camera watch, alligator submarine, tracker watch, an entire hot air balloon. Do either of you have a favorite gadget that he happened to use in this movie?
I need that alligator submarine. I know I'm against going in the water, but I would have it inland and just get in there and see what happens.
It's acid pen is funny to me because it's only used in a specifically a very,
Ben.
very, very specific situation where you would need an acid pen.
That is one of my big problems, especially in the Moore era, is the equipping him with a gadget that can only be used as a way out of a plot device later in the film. And the acid pen is 100% that, where it's just he needs to be locked in a room with metal bars so he can use the acid pen to escape.
If this was like a scarier movie, they would just throw the acid pen at somebody's face.
Yes.
Camera watch also funny because the camera is on the hot air balloon as they're coming in, and he's like, well, you can just look down there. Like, and there's a minor plot point. It was like, oh, thanks to the camera watch, I saw that they're actually taking Octopussy out of the back door. But like, that's it. That's all it's ever used for.
And once again, a specific gadget for a specific need that no one could have predicted.
Yep.
So... and then, just because during the Moore era, we really like to talk about Moore's fashion, a bonus round for Moore's suits. The costume designer on this movie was Emma Porteous. Returning from the last film, you have costume supervisor, no longer wardrobe master, Tiny Nichols. Tailoring for Moore himself was done by Douglas Hayward, and his shirts were provided by Frank Foster. All that information can be gathered from bondsuits.com. Here is a little... picture montage of Moore and his best looks from this film. Do any of you have a favorite?
First off, I will compliment like past guest Sophia. Sophia sent me this. This is your James Bond, that image of him in a clown suit, just like unprompted last night. And what a beautiful moment. Thank you, Sophia, for your work, for your jump scares. My favorite outfit might be his pajamas when he's like behind bars there. I think that color works for him. Roger Moore, get in your jammies. Also, I do like that outfit with Maude Adams because they're just two beautiful people.
The vest with the big collar.
I kind of love it.
That's kind of my least favorite in this one, but I think Roger Moore looks bad in a vest. I think I'm coming to terms with, I think that maybe him and vests are not friends.
Maybe it's because she's there, though. She looks great.
I really like a tan suit. The tan suit's nice. He really
rocks
pulls
a
it
tan
off.
suit like no other. My favorite, and no slight to Connery, because Connery pulls off a white dinner jacket like nobody else. I love him in the white dinner jacket.
Looks
But
nice.
I think it's the combination of the like really thin fabric white shirt that's see-through. And that actually has a specific purpose, which is that it just gets so hot in India that it is like a shirt that you can, the sweat kind of runs off, I guess, is technically the thought process. But he looks so hot. Like he should wear...
It adds like a layer of texture to the suit to where it just doesn't completely blend. And thank you for your work, sir.
Yeah. And I like that the bow ties, we've moved out of the 70s. The bow ties are getting smaller again. The bow ties are starting to make
I don't
sense.
know. I'm looking at that bottom picture and the bow tie looks really big.
It does. Yeah. I guess you're right. The slightly smaller. I mean, the Spy Who Loved Me bow ties were like clownish.
They were literally clown size.
Small little thing I do love about Moore that always makes me laugh is, especially in publicity photos, whenever he's shooting a gun, he doesn't know what to do with his other hand.
Yeah.
It's always like out to the side or up like this. It's like
telling a tiger to sit down.
Totally. It's very Talladega Nights, don't know what to do with my hands. Like, yeah.
He's counterbalancing, you know?
Yeah, whatever.
that
whatever.
gun, just so heavy.
He was Spider-Man in a past life.
Exactly. Well, I think that wraps up this case. Octopussy. Boy, what an Octopussy it was. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. Please
Oh.
tell our agents where they can find you online.
Well, you can find me anywhere, social media wise. I generally respond. I'm in a lovely online presence. I do not I have a tendency to stay on the more positive of the social medias. At Neb is Ben. You can find me on the positive and non-positive ones. At Neb is Ben. Instagram neb.isben. Somebody stole my name. My website is icecreamforfreaks.com. That's where all my writing is. You can find all my podcast appearances, including this one probably by the time it comes out. All my previous podcasts I've done with Chels and various episodes along the way. I write all over the place for the Film Experience, In Session, Cinema Scholars, various places like that. And I guest on a lot of other podcasts because I'm the David Thewlis of podcasting.
Excellent, Ben. Genuinely, thank you so much for joining us.
My distinct pleasure.
Oh, you've been an absolute delight. And like I said, case closed for Octopussy. And thank you all for listening to Q Division. If you'd like to listen to our previous episodes, we are available wherever you listen to podcasts. Please make sure to rate and review our show while you're there. You can also find us on Blue Sky and Instagram at QDivisionPod on both, or you can email us at qdivisionpod@gmail.com. Chels, remind the agents where else they can find you online.
I am Chels725 on the Blue Sky, Serialized, which is like TV Letterboxd, and then occasionally on Real Letterboxd whenever I decide to actually update that. And then I'm also on And a Rewatch Pod, where we're talking about everything from Yellow Jackets and selfies and Mythic Quest to Drag Race and The Traitors and sometimes soap operas. I've made some fun appearances on the Glitterjaw shows Fear Coded, Gimmick, Screonk, Distant Echoes by the time this is out. And then, you know, I have a little ditty that should be out by now. By the time we're recording, you know how time travel works. It's called Across the Whoniverse. It is a Doctor Who marathon podcast where I copy exactly what Gavin does here and apply it to Doctor Who. And Gavin will be a guest on so many episodes because I love terrorizing you, my favorite hobby. But yeah, Across the Whoniverse, all across socials, you'll find us there. We're just those two little queer gals talking silly Billy stuff and thirsting after everybody in the Doctor Whoniverse.
If it involves you, Chels, it's not terrorizing. That's what I've decided, at least.
I don't know. Some of those episodes are a terror to rewatch.
And as for me, you can find my declassified account at it's Gavin. That's SHHITSGABIN on Blue Sky. And you can find me on Instagram, if you really want to, at GavinMev. You can also find my other long-running film podcasts at The Mixed Reviews on any podcast platform, co-hosted by my good friend Louis Rendon. To find more information about The Mixed Reviews, please visit glitterjaw.com/mix-reviews. And until next time, we hope to have left you shaken, not stirred.